Chapter 180, The Meeting. Chapter 180, The Meeting. Ask for help with a symbiotic insect. Danju smiled coldly. Ignoring the purple-masked killers, he turned towards Jian Wushuang. Master Wushang, Master Yang, and Miss Su Ro, these killers of Bloodfeather Tower will surely be stopped by my people. Now you three, come with me to find whom you want to save, Danjo said with a smile. Thank you so much, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. You're welcome. We are just following orders, said Danjo with a smile. Then he made his way to the hinterland of the Nine Emperors sect together with Jian Wushuang and the others. Just as Jian Wushuang and the others were setting off, Ghost Tiger, leader of the 6 purple mask killers, while being watched by the purple-robed persons on top of the void, immediately shouted, So Jian Wushuang, you've come here to save your father? Ha! But too bad you're destined to be disappointed. Your father is indeed at the Nine Emperors sect. Unfortunately, you won't be able to save him. You can't save him. You're doomed to return with nothing. Ha ha! Ghost Tiger's laughter resounded through the entire Nine Emperors sect, and Jian Wushuang left with a heavy heart, but he did not give up and instead began to search the Nine Emperors sect. The superiors of the Void realm from the Nine Emperors sect were heavily dealt with or killed. Even those from the Bloodfeather Tower were now surrounded by the 8 purple-robed persons and were no match for Jian Wushuang. No one in the Nine Emperors sect could stop him. The Nine Emperors sect is, after all, one of the most bountiful. It would take too much time to search the courtyard lofts one by one, and maybe there are some secret chambers, Jian Wushuang thought with cold eyes. Mr. Danjo, could I trouble you to catch one of these Nine Emperors sect officials? Said Jian Wushuang. No trouble at all, Danjo replied with a smile as his gaze turned to the side. Well, there's one right there. The man who caught Danjo's eyes was Ma Qinghai, who just arrived at the battlefield and was struggling against a golden dragon messenger. Whoosh! Danju was surrounded by a purple light and summoned in front of Ma Qinghai. What tea there? Even before he could react, Danju slapped a shocked Ma Qinghai. An overwhelming power fell over Ma Qinghai's body, and he was swatted onto the ground like a housefly. The ground had torn apart, leaving a large hole. Ma Qinghai struggled to get up from the hole, especially with a foot on his chest. With a determined look in Jian Wushuang's eyes, he coldly stared at Ma Qinghai. Tell me, where is my father? Jian Wushuang said in a low, serious tone. Your father, replied Ma Qinghai, slightly stunned. My father is Jian Nantian, Jian Wushuang said. He is locked up in the Nine Emperors sect. You are a high-ranking official of the Void realm at Nine Emperors sect, one of the top few. You must know where he is. Tell me the truth. Then maybe I can still keep you alive, or else... As Ma Qinghai detected the seriousness in Jian Wushuang, he cleared his throat while nodding his head and said, I know where your father is, and I will take you there. I will take you there now. Lead the way. Jian Wushuang lifted his foot, allowing Ma Qinghai to stand up. Then Ma Qinghai led the way ahead. Though Ma Qinghai was powerful among those of the Void and could walk on air, Jian Wushuang was not worried that Ma Qinghai would escape as Danjo kept a close eye on him. Guided by Ma Qinghai, it didn't take long for Jian Wushuang and the others to arrive at the courtyard near the hill. There in the courtyard was Ma Changfeng. Beside him was Jian Nantian, whose face was faint and hair was white, drinking quietly. Jian Wushuang appeared in the courtyard with his eyes sweeping the area. At once, he saw the white-haired man seated in the middle on a stone bench and drinking. Jian Wushuang was in shock. They hadn't met each other in years. His hair was already silver. His face was fainter than before. However, Jian Wushuang could still recognize that the white-haired man was Jian Nantian, his dignified father who brought him up, the one who taught him swordsmanship and how to be a real man. "Father," Jian Wushuang said, with trembling voice. Jian Nantian, the white-haired man drinking alone, looked towards Jian Wushuang. A light of recognition flashed across his eyes, but soon calmed down like a pool of stagnant water. "You are here," Jian Nantian said calmly. "Come here to sit." Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and sat down on a stone bench in front of Jian Nantian. Taking a closer look at Jian Nantian, he was startled. "Father, your breath." Jian Wushuang noticed that Jian Nantian had no spiritual power. Jian Nantian looked like any ordinary person. Only those whose Dantian had been destroyed and had their spiritual power taken away appear like this. "Ha! It's nothing serious. My Dantian was just broken." Jian Nantian smiled with ease. He was very philosophical about this. "Bastard!" Jian Wushuang couldn't help but curse. For a warrior, it is a nightmare for the Dantian to be destroyed and have their spiritual power dissipated. His father's Dantian was somehow destroyed. "Calm down. Though my Dantian was destroyed and the spiritual power lost, there are other ways of survival." Jian Nantian still smiled. He then took out a pot of wine and said, "Have a drink with me." Jian Nantian handed the wine pot to Jian Wushuang. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang took a swig of the wine. "Not bad. Despite not having seen you for 7 years, you're all grown up." Drinking another mouthful, Jian Nantian continued, "I heard you are ranked first on the earthly dragon list now." "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded. "Is your sword soul completely awakened?" Jian Nantian asked. "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded again. "The ancestors' land, have you been there?" Jian Nantian asked calmly. "I spent 2 years in the sword tomb of the ancestors' land. Unfortunately, I'm not strong enough to accept the test there," Jian Wushuang answered. "It's normal. Generally, those who have reached the Yin Void realm are qualified to accept the tests in the ancestors' land. I could accept the test with just fulfillment of the Golden Pill realm, because I was far stronger than the others at the same level," Jian Nantian said. Jian Wushuang understood what he meant. "By the way, Father, I got to see younger aunt," Jian Wushuang said. "Wu Yue." Jian Nantian looked over. "I saw her 3 years ago. How is she?" "She is dead," Jian Wushuang answered. The glistening pupils of Jian Nantian's calm eyes riffled, but in the next moment he sneered and said, "Wu Yue is also gone. Shuanger, do you know you bear a bloody feud?" Jian Nantian suddenly asked. "I do," Jian Wushuang answered coldly. "If you know, you have to remember." Looking at Jian Wushuang seriously, Jian Nantian said a few words icily. "Blood debt must be repaid with blood." Chapter 181, Spirit Locking Spell. Chapter 181, Spirit Locking Spell. Blood debts must be repaid in blood. The cold words made Jian Wushuang look awe-inspiring. "Master Wushuang," Danzhou suddenly said in the courtyard, "several assassins from Blood Feather Tower have called for help with symbiotic insects just now. It won't take long for a large number of experts from Blood Feather Tower to arrive, so we'd better leave as soon as possible." "You are right." Jian Wushuang nodded and immediately looked at Jian Nantian. "Father, let's go." "Go." Jian Nantian shook his head slowly. "You can go, but I won't." "What?" Jian Wushuang was astonished. Danzhou, Yang Zishuan, and Su Rou were also astonished. They came to save Jian Nantian, and now they had managed it. However, Jian Nantian didn't want to leave. "Father," Jian Wushuang was just about to say something, but he was interrupted by Jian Nantian. There was a bitter smile on Jian Nantian's face. "It's not that I don't want to leave, but I can't." After that, Jian Nantian rose to his feet and walked towards the gate of the courtyard. He stopped at the gate and then slowly touched the space in front of him. There immediately appeared several transparent ripples in the area he touched. "What's this?" Jian Wuxuang frowned. "Spirit locking spell." Dan Zhou immediately exclaimed. "Oh." Jian Nantian looked at Dan Zhou and then said with a smile, "Yes, it's the spirit locking spell, so I can't leave." "Huh?" Dan Zhou breathed lightly and said lowly, "I never thought that the Blood Feather Tower paid so much attention to you, Mr. Jian Nantian. They not only arranged so many Void realm experts to watch over you, but even used the spirit locking spell on you." "What is this spirit locking spell? What the hell is going on?" Jian Wuxuang asked in succession. "Master Wuxuang, I'm afraid that you can't take your father away this time," Dan Zhou said solemnly. "It seems that this courtyard is a common one, but it is surrounded with a spirit locking spell, which is used to detain those who have special positions. Spirit locking spells can be started with just a drop of blood. Once initiated, it will restrict the owner of the blood. Unless the spirit locking spell is removed, anyone trapped by it is unable to leave its scope. Bluntly, it is same as any other trap. But in other traps, once it is activated, no one can enter or leave. This trap is different in that the spirit locking spell only aims at one person, us, those of the Nine Emperors sect, and the experts of Blood Feather Tower can enter and leave the spirit locking spell whenever we want. Only your father is trapped. Because Blood Feather Tower evoked the spirit locking spell with his blood, your father is restricted by the spell and unable to leave." "So that's it." Jian Wuxuang immediately got it. No wonder his father was trapped in this courtyard instead of secret chambers or jails. This courtyard was ever harder to escape from than a jail. "Mr. Dan Zhou, you said that the spirit locking spell can be deactivated just now. How can it be deactivated?" Jian Wuxuang asked. "A spirit locking spell can indeed be deactivated, but it requires great strength. Normally, only supreme experts who have reached the legendary realm can deactivate a spirit locking spell," Dan Zhou said. "What's the legendary realm?" Jian Wuxuang was puzzled. "Divine transcendence," Dan Zhou said directly. Jian Wuxuang was immediately shocked. The way of martial arts, the 7 steps of the spirit path, the spiritual sea, the gold core realm, the yin-yang void realm, and divine transcendence. Among them, the yin-yang void realm was regarded as the peak level in Tianzong dynasty. However, there was a higher level above the yin-yang void realm, which was the legendary transcendental realm. That realm was divine transcendence. However, supreme experts were rare. Tianzong dynasty had undergone thousands of years of history, but there was only one who had truly reached the level of divine transcendence. He was the founding emperor of the Tianzong dynasty and the creator of the formless sword art. But the founding emperor vanished shortly after founding the Tianzong dynasty. Even now, no one knew whether he was dead or alive. Could this spirit-locking spell only be deactivated by a supreme expert at the legendary level of divine transcendence? How could this be? How could this be? Jian Wuxuang's expression immediately became pale, and his figure trembled slightly with an unwilling look in his eyes. Of course, he was quite unwilling. Since his father went missing, he had been eager to find his father's whereabouts. 7 years had passed. He finally found his father, and he immediately invited experts from everywhere to come help rescue his father. They even defeated the 9 Emperors sect, and they also stopped the assassins from Blood Feather Tower with the help of Wang Yuan. He finally saw his father. But he did not expect that his father still couldn't leave because of the spirit-locking spell. No wonder that the Blood Feather Tower assassins said that Master Wushuang was doomed to return without accomplishing anything. It turns out they were right. Danjiu sighed, secretly. Wushuang, Yang Zixuan, and Su Rou also looked at Jian Wushuang with a sort of frown at this moment. Shuanger, Jian Nantian appeared at the side of Jian Wushuang, patting his shoulder, and said, "Glad to see you today. I'm very satisfied with your progress, but if you want to rescue me, your current strength is not enough. Come to rescue me after you break through to the legendary realm." Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was in a shock. Reach that step. Seeing this, Ma Qinghai and his son, Ma Changfeng, couldn't help sneering. "Jian Wushuang, you attacked my 9 Emperors sect with your comrades." Indeed, the experts of the 9 Emperors sect and Blood Feather Tower couldn't stop you, but if you want to rescue your father, it is impossible. Asshole! Jian Wushuang looked at Ma Qinghai coldly, with a rising killing intent. Now, he really wanted to kill this person. However, when he was about to fight, Jian Nantian stopped him. "Let me deal with these two," Jian Nantian said calmly. "Father," Jian Wushuang was astonished. While Jian Nantian, standing in front of the stone table, he picked up the wooden sword lying on the table and then slowly walked towards Ma Qinghai and Ma Changfeng. This scene astounded not only Jian Wushuang, but also Danjiu, Yang Zixuan, and Su Rou. What does he want to do? Danjiu couldn't help murmuring. It seemed that Jian Nantian was going to fight. But Jian Nantian's Dantian had been destroyed. Without a Dantian, he would have no spiritual power. Now he was just an ordinary person who had no spiritual power at all. However, between Ma Qinghai and Ma Changfeng, one was at the exceptional Gold Core realm, which was almost strong enough to be on the earthly dragon list, and the other one was a powerful warrior in the initial Yin Void realm. At this moment, Jian Nantian just took an ordinary wooden sword and walked towards the father and son. Chapter 182, Jian Nantian. Chapter 182, Jian Nantian. "Jian Nantian, what are you going to do?" Ma Qinghai frowned and looked over at him. "Ma Qinghai, don't you always want me to teach your son swordsmanship?" Jian Nantian said in a deep voice. Ma Qinghai was stunned. "Ma Changfeng, watch carefully. I'll teach you a move." While saying that, the wooden sword in Jian Nantian's hand was wielded lightly. With no spiritual power, only sword light. The sword light was beautiful, sharp, and charming. Its beauty was intoxicating. When the sword light rushed forward, everyone present, including Jian Wushuang and Danjiu, were deeply attracted by it and could not take their eyes off of it. This move, Danjiu widened his eyes. Meanwhile, in the sword light, there was an unprecedented killing intent that froze the surrounding air. Chu, the sharp and beautiful sword light, appeared in front of Ma Qinghai. With a terrified face, Ma Qinghai hurried to ward it off, only to astoundingly realize it was so fast he couldn't even react to it. He could only helplessly watch the sword light rushing towards him, and then relentlessly passing through his neck. After that, the sword light went on flying towards Ma Changfeng without decreasing in power. Ma Changfeng's eyes were round with fear, but he did not have the power to resist either. The sword light passed through his neck as well. Chi, chi. After 2 consecutive sounds of the sword edge passing through flesh, the entire yard became completely quiet, silent in death. Jian Wushuang, Danjiu, Yang Zixuan, and Su Rou all witnessed this in astonishment, while Jian Nantian, whom they were staring at, acted as if nothing had happened. He sheathed his sword and then casually and slowly walked towards that stone table. Plop! Two bodies fell down upon the ground without a life aura. Even in death, Ma Qinghai and his son could not believe what was happening, let alone them. Even Jian Wushuang's party, including Danjiu, who had an unusual background and great experience, felt it was totally unbelievable. What did they see? Only with one single sword move, two warriors, one in the initial Yin Void realm and the other in the exceptional Gold Core realm, were instantly killed. If the man who wielded the sword was an expert in the Yin Void or Gold Core realm, they would not be astonished at all. But the man who wielded the sword was Jian Nantian. His Dantian had been destroyed, and he had no spiritual power at all. In other words, Jian Nantian was just an ordinary person. But what was the result? The sword move, that incomparably marvelous move, did not use any spiritual power at all, but it killed Ma Qinghai and his son, Ma Changfeng, using only the wielder's swordsmanship and his comprehension of sword principle. Moreover, it was a wooden sword. What did that mean? What a monster! Danjiu shouted at the bottom of his heart. It was ridiculous enough that Master Wushuang reached such a level at 19 years old. It's unbelievable that his father could be even more monstrous than his son. With a destroyed Dantian, he could still kill a warrior in the initial Yin Void realm with one single sword move, with only his swordsmanship and sword principle comprehension. Oh my God! Both Yang Zishuan and Su Ro also crazily swallowed, with their minds going totally blank. Only Jian Wushuang was extremely excited, with flames burning in his eyes at that moment. This man is my father, whom I adored from childhood. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists tightly. He had been worshipping his father since long ago. In Sword Pavilion, his father was a legend. Even today, Jian Wushuang's worship towards his father had not even decreased a little, especially now. He witnessed the sword move his father wielded, that startling move. His admiration towards his father became even stronger. This was his father. Even though his Dantian had been destroyed and his spiritual power had dissipated, he was still qualified to be a top expert in the Tianzong dynasty just by his swordsmanship and sword principle comprehension. I have combined 3 sword essences. In other people's eyes, my achievements are defied common sense. However, compared with my father, my talent is nothing at all, Jian Wushuang said to himself. He completely understood that if his Dantian had been destroyed and he had no spiritual power, he might be able to kill a common warrior of the Gold Core realm with only his swordsmanship and sword essences. Even so, it would be a tough fight, even though he used a wonderful weapon like the triple kill sword. To kill a warrior of initial Yin Void realm with only a wooden sword was impossible for him. In sword principle, his father was far stronger than him. At this moment, Jian Nantian had sat down on that stone bench and was drinking wine again. He shot a glance at Jian Wushuang and distantly said, "Go, enhance your strength. The current you still have a long way to go." Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and barely calmed down. Then he immediately kneeled down and respectfully presented Jian Nantian 3 loud kowtows. After that, he stood up and solemnly said, "I'll come back to rescue you soon. Then I'll have a good drink with you, Father." Jian Nantian slightly smiled and waved his hand. "Go, go." Jian Wushuang just turned around and left with absolute determination. Danjiu, Yang Zishuan, and Su Ro closely followed him. Only Jian Nantian was left, quietly sitting on the stone bench and drinking alone, but his eyes became gloomy and faint. "Woman, can you see? Our son. He has grown up." After leaving that yard where Jian Nantian was imprisoned, Jian Wushuang's face became cold. He said nothing, while none of the 3 people following him, Danjiu, Yang Zishuan and Su Ro said anything. The atmosphere was a little dreary. They quickly appeared again at the battlefield of Nine Emperors Sect. But the fierce fighting in Nine Emperors Sect had already finished. Among the 8 Void experts from the Nine Emperors Sect, 5 were already dead and 3 were seriously injured. Only that upper elder still had a little power remaining. The other 2 were crippled. As for the 6 purple-masked assassins, they were surrounded by the purple-robed people and were unable to do anything. When Jian Wushuang returned to the battlefield, Ghost Tiger, the leader of the purple-masked assassins, immediately laughed. "I said you were doomed to be unable to rescue your father this time. What about now?" Jian Wushuang stared at Ghost Tiger with an icy face. "Who destroyed my father's Dantian?" "Dantian?" Ghost Tiger coldly laughed and said, "Ha! Of course I destroyed it myself. There was no other way. When I caught your father, he had broken through to the Void realm. What's more important, his comprehension of sword essence was too high. His strength was far stronger than yours today. If I didn't destroy his Dantian, I was afraid that even I could not easily get close to him, so I had to do it. You're called Ghost Tiger, right?" Jian Wushuang gazed at Ghost Tiger. "Yes," Ghost Tiger nodded. "I will kill you the next time we meet." Several cold words came out of Jian Wushuang's mouth. A cold light flashed in Ghost Tiger's eyes, but he only coldly smiled. "Let's go." Jian Wushuang waved his hand, and the surrounding Golden Dragon ambassadors nodded. Then they all rushed out of the Nine Emperors Sect. Chapter 183, 2 months. Chapter 183, 2 months. In the air outside of the Nine Emperors Sect, "Young Master," a purple-robed figure suddenly appeared beside Wang Yuan and respectfully said, "Guerrero from Blood Feather Tower is coming in person, and he will arrive here in several minutes." "So fast?" With a frown, Wang Yuan casually threw away the fruit he had been eating and ordered, "Dan Wu, go stop them. I'll go after my 3rd brother." "Yes," the brown-haired elder beside Wang Yuan answered, and then his figure instantly disappeared from the air. "Little Condor, let's go." Wang Yuan patted the purple cloud condor under him. The purple cloud condor flapped its wings and flew towards the Nine Emperors Sect. Jian Wushuang and his comrades had just come out of the Nine Emperors Sect. "Third brother." Riding on the purple cloud condor, Wang Yuan turned up in front of Jian Wushuang. "Eldest brother," Jian Wushuang said with a forced smile. "Where is your father? He isn't in the Nine Emperors Sect." Wang Yuan was puzzled. "Young master," Danzhou said, "Master Wushuang's father is in the Nine Emperors Sect, but he is trapped in a spirit-locking spell. So—" "Spirit-locking spell?" Wang Yuan widened his eyes. With his background, of course he knew about the spirit-locking spell. He realized right away why Jian Wushuang had not successfully rescued his father. "The experts from the Blood Feather Tower are coming. Let's leave first," Jian Wushuang said. We must leave right now," Wang Yuan seriously said, and nodded. Then they left the scope of 9, Right Mountain, very quickly. Soon after they left, Guerrero arrived with as many as 10 purple-masked assassins. Naturally, they found nobody. When Guerrero saw Jian Nantian was still imprisoned in that yard, he breathed a sigh of relief. Jian Nantian is extremely important to our Blood Feather Tower. Tower Master specially paid a high price to get a spirit locking spell at that time to imprison him. Now it looks like Tower Master is really far-sighted, Guerrero conceitedly replied and laughed. Soon after leaving 9 Ring Mountain, Jian Wushuang and others stopped in the air. Jian Wushuang thanked the 7 Golden Dragon ambassadors. "Thank you for your help this time. Although I was unable to save my father in the end, I will still remember this debt of gratitude." Brother Wushuang, we weren't actually of any help this time, said Yi Rafeng, while spreading out his hands. Yes, we fought against the experts of 9 Emperors' sect, but we failed to rescue your father in the end, Shui Mingho also said. They exchanged courteous words. After all, these Golden Dragon ambassadors also felt regret. Although they had put forth their strength, they did not really rescue Jian Wushuang's father. Hence, they could not receive Jian Wushuang's full gratitude. At most, they would get a small debt of gratitude. Since the matter has passed, we'll leave now. The 7 Golden Dragon ambassadors quickly left, one by one. Having said goodbye to the Golden Dragon ambassadors, the 4 siblings Jian Wushuang, Wang Yuan, Yang Zhaixuan, and Su Rou went back to the Dragon Palace. Soon after they arrived, Palace Master White came to talk with Jian Wushuang. I have heard the story. I never thought Blood Feather Tower attached such great importance to your father. They not only secretly arranged 6 powerful purple-masked assassins to guard your father, but also used the spirit locking spell to imprison him, said Palace Master White. I did not expect that either. Jian Wushuang frowned. It's troublesome. Palace Master White slightly narrowed her eyes and continued saying, only a legendary expert that has reached divine transcendence could break the spirit locking spell. In the entire Tianzong dynasty, only one man has actually reached that level. Jian Wushuang's expression darkened. He also knew that, so he felt worried at the bottom of his heart. I'm cultivating the heavenly creation skill, and it's possible to reach that level one day. However, it's just a chance, and it might take a very long time, Jian Wushuang thought solemnly. Actually, Jian Wushuang, if you want to rescue your father now, there might be a way, Palace Master White suddenly said. Oh, Jian Wushuang looked over at Palace Master White. Don't forget that the easternmost hunt will begin in 2 months. All 12 northwestern dynasties will participate in the hunt, and many experts from those old sects will be there, said Palace Master White. Perform well in the easternmost hunt, and attract the attention of the old sects. There should be someone who has reached divine transcendence in the old sections. As long as you become a disciple of an old sect, you'll have a chance to approach those transcendental beings. If you are lucky to become a personal disciple of a transcendental being, it will be easy to ask your master to help save your father, won't it? On hearing this, Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. That's true. There must be some experts who have reached divine transcendence in those old sections. As long as I perform excellently in the easternmost hunt, I'll get the chance to enter those old sects and even become a disciple of one of those supreme experts. Jian Wushuang's eyes were sparkling with a dazzling light. Previously, he was looking forward to this easternmost hunt, but he did not yearn for it so strongly. But now things had changed. During the easternmost hunt, in 2 months, he would do his best to perform well. It's good that you've come around to the idea. There are still 2 months before the easternmost hunt. Prepare well in these 2 months. Anyway, the easternmost hunt is not the same as the selection battle, Palace Master White warned. Although you have incomparable talent, it is only in Tianzong dynasty. In the easternmost hunt, there are other exceptional geniuses from as many as 11 other dynasties. At that time, you will meet them. I understand. Jian Wushuang tightly clenched his fists and heavily nodded. Palace Master White departed shortly after that, leaving Jian Wushuang standing there with unprecedented determination in his eyes. 2 months. I still have 2 months. In these 2 months, I have to improve my strength as much as possible. Having decided, Jian Wushuang immediately fell into earnest cultivation. However, it was not practical for the current Jian Wushuang to greatly improve his strength in such a short period. He knew that himself. After all, His strength was already very terrifying, and there were only two ways to enhance it further. Either a breakthrough to the exceptional gold core realm, or in sword essence comprehension, combining the sword essence of earth with the other three sword essences, combining all four sword essences together. Then, his strength would achieve a whole new level. In both spiritual power and sword essence comprehension, he had found himself stuck at a bottleneck. It would not be easy for him to make a breakthrough. Having a breakthrough depended on opportunity and timing, so it was impossible to guess when it would happen. When the timing was right, he would naturally make a breakthrough. Since his cultivation of spiritual power and the comprehension of sword essence were both hard to enhance, Jian Wushuang spent all his energy on his swordsmanship. Chapter 184. The Hunt Begins. Chapter 184. The Hunt Begins. As for his swordsmanship, all Jian Wushuang could do now was to improve his understanding of the formless sword art and selfless sword technique. The 9th move of the formless sword art had high requirements for sword essence comprehension. Jian Wushuang was at the threshold of understanding it based on his comprehension in fiery wind sword essence. What he needed to do now was mediate on the 9th move. The selfless sword technique originated from the ancestors' land, so it was high-level sword skill. Although he only had the first half volume, with only 6 of the sword moves, the power was still extraordinarily powerful. He had fully mastered the first move, idealistic form, and the second move, solipsistic form. As for the third move, sky isolating form, more studying was needed. In the following 2 months, he spent all his time meditating these sword arts. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. Over 10 griffins flew through the air at an amazing speed, quickly halting and then hovering above a vast plain. "Is this the easternmost plain?" Jian Wushuang asked as he raised his head and looked at the endless plain in front of him. The easternmost plain was a vast area located at the center of the 12 northwestern dynasties. It bordered the 12 dynasties. The easternmost hunt was held here every decade. Beside Jian Wushuang were the other 14 warriors who were attending the easternmost hunt. These geniuses looked at the easternmost plain with expectations. "Tian, I heard that you made a breakthrough. Congratulations." A beautiful and mischievous girl spoke while looking at Tian. She was Mu Yingying, who was ranked 3rd on the earthly dragon list. "Ha! A stroke of luck," Tian said while smiling modestly. During the last 2 months, all the geniuses who were qualified to attend the hunt had been trying their best to enhance their strength. Among them, Tian improved the most because he had a breakthrough in spiritual power in the last 2 months. In the end, he chose to suppress his realm, but his strength had reached half-step yin-yang realm, the same as Ouyang Haotian. However, Tian's essence comprehension was much greater than Ouyang Haotian's. Now that he had reached half-step yin-yang, as well, Tian was much stronger than Ouyang Haotian. "Your real strength must be close to Jian Wushuang's, now that have reached half-step yin-yang, right?" Mu Yingying said, smilingly. "You are flattering me." Tian shook his head and said, "I know my strength clearly, though I'm much stronger than before. I am still much weaker than a monster like Jian Wushuang." Tian knew himself well enough. He couldn't forget the amazing battle between Jian Wushuang and Shui Yun 2 months ago. Even though he made a breakthrough, he knew that he still couldn't win against Jian Wushuang or Shui Yun. Moreover, even though his breakthrough greatly enhanced his strength during the last 2 months, Jian Wushuang should have improved as well. The 15 geniuses who were attending the easternmost hunt were chatting. Suddenly, a golden figure landed in front of them. It was the golden-armored general who hosted the selection battle. "Greetings, sir," Jian Wushuang, and other 14 geniuses shouted together. With a cold look on his face and a frightening aura radiating from his body, the golden-armored general said, "In 1 more hour, the easternmost hunt will begin. I am here to tell you the rules before then." The easternmost hunt has 2 phases. The stage 1 is the hunt, and stage 2 is the point battle in Sky Valley. First, I will tell you about stage 1, the hunt. Jian Wushuang and other 14 geniuses listened carefully. The golden-armored general continued, "Since it's a hunting competition, it means that you are hunters, but your target is human warriors instead of spirit beasts. The vast plain in front of you is located on the border of the 12 dynasties. Because the easternmost plain connects the 12 dynasties, so a lot of merchants pass through here. Many traders from the 12 dynasties have to pass through the easternmost plain. It attracts criminals who set up bandit gangs and rob the caravans that come through. The easternmost plain is full of bandits, including many criminals who fled here because they were wanted by the 12 dynasties. This time, those fugitives are your targets." Fugitives, Jian Wushuang, and the others changed their expressions a little. In this world where the stronger dominate, it's normal for warriors to fight with each other. Therefore, it's also common for warriors to kill each other during fierce battles. Jian Wushuang, as young as he was, had already killed many warriors. But the battles that occurred among warriors didn't cause them to be wanted by the dynasties. Only crazy and cruel people who committed a flagrant crime would be wanted, such as killing lots of civilians. Anyway, anyone who was wanted by the dynasties was thoroughly covered in sin. The easternmost plain is vast, and the number of fugitives who flee here from 12 dynasties to become bandits is quite large. But they all have one thing in common. They all wear armlets with kill written on them, the golden-armored general said. Armlets with kill on them? Jian Wushuang was stunned. The kill armlet exposes their identities, the golden-armored general said. So they don't dare to wear the armlets in the 12 dynasties, but they do in the easternmost plain. There are a lot of bandits in the easternmost plain. They are the worst of the worst fugitives who cause chaos. What's more, they are proud of being fugitives. Therefore, many of them possess high status in bandit gangs. That's it. Jian Wushuang immediately understood. They were proud of being fugitives. That's why they wore the kill armlets at all times. The hunt will last for 5 days. You have to try your best to kill the fugitives and grab their armlets in these 5 days. In 5 days, the quantity of armlets and their levels will decide whether you are qualified to proceed to stage 2, the point battle, the golden-armored general said. "Sir, how many armlets do we need to continue on to the second stage?" Jian Wushuang asked. Chapter 185, The Rampant Bandit. Chapter 185, The Rampant Bandit. There are 4 kinds of kill armlets, arranged according to the fugitive's strength and the crimes they have committed: black iron, silver, purple gold, and blood jade, the golden-armored general explained. Different armlets represent different points. For example, a silver armlet is worth several black iron armlets. As for how many points are needed, I'm sorry, but I can't tell you that. You can't tell us? Jian Wushuang and others were stunned. Yes, the golden-armored general said. The 12 dynasties do not want you to know the required amount. They wanted you to know nothing. That way you will try your best to get as many armlets as possible. Got it. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly with a serious expression. Besides that, there is one more thing you need to know. The golden-armored general continued. The hunt is a personal fight, which means you have to act alone and are forbidden from joining together. Also, the armlets you get cannot be given to others. From the very beginning of the easternmost hunt, the whole easternmost plain will be under strict surveillance by experts from the 12 dynasties. If anyone tries to give their armlets to someone else, both people will be eliminated. That's all. Am I understood? If you have any questions, ask me now. The golden-armored general looked at them. Jian Wushuang and other 14 geniuses looked serious. In the hunting phase, they had to act alone, and their armlets couldn't be given to others. Sir, will we come across other top geniuses of the 12 dynasties in these 5 days? Jian Wushuang asked. You shouldn't. The golden-armored general shook his head and said, the easternmost plain is vast, and the warriors from the 12 dynasties set off from their own dynasties. It's hard to come across them, since they all came here from different directions. Surely, we can't exclude the possibility that some geniuses might purposely come looking for you. And what about the Sky Valley Point battle in Stage 2? Mu Yingying asked. Sky Valley Point battle, you will find out after you pass the first stage. It's pointless to tell you now. The golden-armored general waved his hand, making it clear that he wasn't going to explain. All of them felt great pressure. 1 hour passed quickly. Time is up. The golden-armored general looked up into the air and then looked at Jian Wushuang and the others before saying, the easternmost hunt starts now. Keep in mind, you are the top geniuses of Tianzong dynasty. Put on a good show for yourselves as well as for Tianzong dynasty. Go! The 15 griffins immediately flew out like 15 streams of flowing light, rushing towards the endless plain. Second brother, fourth sister, take care. Guys, good luck. Jian Wushuang said. Good luck, said the other geniuses. Then they separated and started their own hunting trip. In the vast plain, Jian Wushuang hopped off from the griffin and landed on the ground. He raised his head and looked off into the distance. This is like the middle of nowhere in the easternmost plain. The bandits should all gather somewhere here. Jian Wushuang slightly smiled. When will I meet you? Unlike the caravans, who prayed not to meet bandits when they passed through the easternmost plain, Jian Wushuang was hoping to meet them. He walked alone in the plain with his long sword on his back. At the same time, several figures gathered together and talked in a grassy area not far away. Wow, the second leader's wife is so beautiful with her sparkling eyes and slim waist. I have been in the mountain stronghold for such a long time, but I have only seen her twice, and each time I could not help but drool. A fat, middle-aged, bare-armed man was chatting with several bandits. Hearing what he said, the bandits around him could not help but swallow. And of course, beautiful as she is, she cannot be compared to White Lady, the fat middle-aged man said. White Lady, the greatest beauty recognized in the easternmost plain. White Lady, I heard the White Lady was strong and that she was also the leader of a bandit gang. Other bandits sitting nearby were talking about the same thing. Right, that is her. I met her once, and I fell in love with her at first sight. I swear I will not marry anyone but her, the fat middle-aged man said. Really? You sure you are not exaggerating? Is she such a beauty? Ha, I also met her once. She really is a beauty, and I also want to marry her. Go away. She is mine. The fat middle-aged man was displeased. At this time, Brother Tang, a bandit, rushed forward and told the fat middle-aged man, someone is coming. Oh, the fat middle-aged man changed his expression slightly, then immediately stood up and asked, how many people? Is it a caravan? No, it is only one person in the profound gold core realm, the bandit answered. A single warrior in the profound gold core realm. The fat middle-aged man apparently lost interest, but he still said, a small sparrow still has feathers that can be plucked. Hurry up, surround him, and make sure he can't escape. The bandits moved quickly and soon caught sight of Jian Wushuang walking alone in a casual manner. It's really only one person. The fat middle-aged man's face showed an interesting smile. A warrior in the Gold Core realm dares to come to the easternmost plane alone. You truly are reckless and blind. Guys, go, let's teach him a lesson. The bandits who followed the middle-aged man were excited. You stop. A shout was heard. Jian Wushuang stopped and looked toward him. When he saw the fat middle-aged man moving in his direction, he smiled to himself. The first group of bandits has come. But they are too weak, and none of them are fugitives. Jian Wushuang shook his head secretly. He had noticed that no one among the almost 10 bandits wore an armlet. Without armlets, it was pointless for Jian Wushuang to kill them. Maybe I could get an armlet for killing them, but I might gain some useful information if I let them talk. Thinking that, Jian Wushuang walked directly towards the fat middle-aged man and the others. Chapter 186. Could he be cooler? Chapter 186. Could he be cooler? Hey, kid. The fat middle-aged man shouted to Jian Wushuang. Where are you from? Jian Wushuang stood in front of the fat middle-aged man indifferently, saying nothing. Don't want to speak. It seems like you don't belong anywhere. The fat middle-aged man smiled coldly and said, Hey, listen up. I will give you 2 choices. One is to let me kill you and take your interspatial ring, and you try to perform better in your next life. The other is to go back with me and meet our first leader. First leader may be willing to keep you there to serve him tea, since your appearance is not bad. Even if he doesn't like you, you could stay in the Purple Fire Gang and offer us massages. That would also be great. Ha! Hearing that, the bandits behind the fat middle-aged man all began to laugh. Kid, these are your only 2 choices. So pick one, the fat middle-aged man said coldly. Serve tea? Offer massages? Jian Wushuang touched his nose without saying anything, but the long sword behind him was already out. CHUU. When Jian Wushuang moved, sword lights rushed directly towards the bandits. The bandits were immediately annoyed. You are courting death. He dares to attack us alone. He's so uppity. Let's kill him. Kill. These bandits had killed many people, making them cruel and fierce. Now that they started to attack, they wouldn't show any mercy. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. When his figure was about to clash with the bandits, his swordsmanship burst out directly. A cold sword shadow could be seen lighting up suddenly. Then the light instantly overshadowed all the other lights in the area. This sword move, the moment Jian Wushuang's long sword slashed out, the bandits' faces turned pale. And then, chi! The cold sword light swept through the bandits, and the sword edge slit their throats. With just a single exchange, all of the bandits except the leading fat middle-aged man had died and were laying in a pool of blood. Next, the sword edge of the triple kill sword appeared on the fat middle-aged man's shoulder. You, fat man, did you mention earlier that you wanted to teach me the ways of the world? Jian Wushuang looked at the fat middle-aged man coldly, and at the same time, he clapped his long sword. Plop! The fat middle-aged man knelt down without hesitation and begged, Sir, I failed to recognize how powerful you are, and I deserve to die, but I need to support the children and elderly in my family. May I beg for your mercy? Hearing that, Jian Wushuang went into a daze. He had seen many people who were afraid of death, but he never saw anyone like this fat man. Sir, the fat man was still crying with his nose running. Shut up, Jian Wushuang shouted angrily. The fat middle-aged man was frightened and dared not speak anymore, but he kept looking at Jian Wushuang pitifully. I will ask you something, and you need to answer truthfully. Jian Wushuang said coldly. Of course I will. No matter what you ask, I won't hide anything. I swear. I only want to beg for your mercy, the fat middle-aged man said. You mentioned the first leader and the Purple Fire Gang just now. So, you are a member of the Purple Fire Gang. What is its overall strength? Asked Jian Wushuang. Our overall strength. The middle-aged man was puzzled at first, but he immediately answered the question. Sir, there are several hundred people in the Purple Fire Gang, and many of them are in the Gold Core realm. We have 2 leaders, and both of them are in the initial Void realm. In the whole easternmost plane, the Purple Fire Gang is a famous gang. Gang? Jian Wushuang could not help laughing as he asked, Aren't you just bandits? Hearing that, the fat middle-aged man smiled, awkwardly. Are there any fugitives that are wanted by the surrounding 12 dynasties in the Purple Fire Gang? Jian Wushuang asked. Fugitives? Yes. The fat middle-aged man nodded. The second leader of the Purple Fire Gang is a silver-level fugitive. Other than him, we have 4 more who are at the level of black iron. It is easy to tell them apart since they are always wearing an armlet. 1 at the silver level and 1 at the black iron? Jian Wushuang smiled and said, Take me to the stronghold of the Purple Fire Gang. Now, with you alone. The fat middle-aged man stared at Jian Wushuang, stunningly. Shut up, just lead the way, Jian Wushuang said with a serious look. Naturally, the fat middle-aged man dared not say more, and immediately led the way for Jian Wushuang. Actually, the stronghold of the Purple Fire Gang was located on a hill in the easternmost plain, composed of simple houses and tents. At that moment, the stronghold of the Purple Fire Gang was very boisterous. Many bandits were busy enjoying meat and alcohol. Abruptly, a fat figure was thrown like a cannonball, landing on the floor and shaking the whole area. Obviously, the fat figure was the fat middle-aged man who had been caught by Jian Wushuang. Fat Tang, what the hell are you doing? Many bandits of the Purple Fire Gang looked towards the fat middle-aged man. The fat middle-aged man struggled to stand up. Without saying anything, he looked over his shoulder. Jian Wushuang, who only carried his long sword, folded his arms and slowly walked forward. The bandits immediately looked at Jian Wushuang, including the 2 people at the forefront, who were the 2 leaders of the Purple Fire Gang. One of them was a cold man with braids, wearing an armlet with the word kill written on it. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up when he saw the armlet. Are you the second leader of the Purple Fire Gang? I want the armlet on your arm. As his voice faded, the triple kill sword behind Jian Wushuang was already out. A horrifying sword essence instantly began radiating from him. Without speaking any nonsense, Jian Wushuang immediately attacked the cold man with braids. The Purple Fire Gang instantly fell into turmoil. A little fellow who's only in the profound gold core realm wants to kill me, the cold man with braids said, while smiling disdainfully. I don't know where this reckless and stupid guy come from, but send him away immediately, a purple-haired old man said while frowning. The purple-haired old man was the first leader of the Purple Fire Gang. The 2 sat in front of the table and drank, paying no attention to Jian Wushuang. However, many bandits around them were preparing to fight against Jian Wushuang. The fat middle-aged man, who led the way for Jian Wushuang, was stunned at this scene. This guy, a brat who just reached the profound gold core realm, actually dared to come to the stronghold of the Purple Fire Gang alone. What's more, he immediately attacked without even speaking any nonsense. Did he intend to kill our second leader? Dared he to be cooler? The fat, middle-aged man shouted in his heart, but a hint of astonishment instantly appeared in his eyes. Chapter 187, Tang Wuji. Chapter 187, Tang Wuji. What? Sitting by a long, narrow table, the lukewarm man with a whip did not take Jian Wuxuang seriously at first, but he immediately noticed the cold radiance of the sword that appeared in front of him. "Bro, watch out!" The purple-haired elder next to him shouted aloud, looking completely shocked as well. Jian Wuxuang had taken action just now, while surrounded by a crowd of bandits that were trying to kill him. However, how could he appear in front of them so suddenly? This is, although still in amazement, the lukewarm man with a whip noticed more than 10 bandit corpses out of the corner of his eye. Did this profound gold core, realm warrior, really kill all those bandits in an instant? Bang! After a cold hum, the long, narrow table in front of the man was instantly ground into dust. At this point, he immediately stood up and thrust his palm directly towards Jian Wuxuang. His palm was surrounded by a brown halo, which was the substantiation of the earth essence that he had comprehended. A fierce slap rushed forward, full of spiritual power from an initial void realm warrior. Normally, this slap could have easily killed someone at the peak gold core realm, let alone the profound gold core realm. However, when the cold radiance of the sword reached him, shwa, the sword directly pierced the man's palm without any resistance, slicing his palm in half before it went through the lukewarm man's neck, while maintaining a constant radiance. The lukewarm man glared, with eyes that were full of amazement, but his figure was slowly falling backward. "Damn it! Wuxuang!" As soon as the purple-haired elder, the head of the Purple Fire Gang, saw this, a stunningly large axe appeared in his hand, and a giant axe shadow cleaved towards Jian Wuxuang in an overwhelming way. "Go away!" Even without looking at the purple-haired elder, Jian Wuxuang waved his sword, which made the elder feel a strong power, causing his breath and blood to be in disorder. Feeling embarrassed, he finally retreated. After retreating, he hurried to jump up into the air. Then he looked at Jian Wuxuang again, from a relatively high position. His eyes were full of panic, and he did not dare to stand on the ground anymore. "Void walk." Jian Wuxuang smiled slightly. A void realm warrior could not be killed as long as he used void walk. But the purple-haired elder was originally not his target. From the beginning, he wanted to kill that lukewarm man, and he had. Silver armlet. Jian Wuxuang only waved his hand, taking away the man's armlet and interspatial ring. Then he started to look around. There are still 4 more. Wearing a sardonic grin, Jian Wuxuang went directly towards them. Chi, 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 chi. This slight sound was heard 4 times in succession. Those 4 bandits with black iron armlets were killed by Jian Wuxuang, leaving behind their armlets for him. From the very beginning to the end, the first leader of the Purple Fire Gang was standing in the air, not daring to get involved. A large number of bandits surrounded Jian Wuxuang, watching him in total horror but not daring to take action. However, Jian Wuxuang did not care about these bandits at all, including the purple-haired elder of the Void realm, whom he did not even take seriously. When he got all the armlets, he sheathed the triple kill sword. Then Jian Wuxuang turned around with all the bandits staring at him. When he passed the fat middle-aged man, he suddenly halted. Looking at that man, he said with a smile, "Fat man, why don't you run away? Aren't you afraid that I will eat you alive?" After finishing his words, Jian Wuxuang left. The middle-aged man glared, and then spontaneously looked up at the purple-haired elder, only to find that his eyes were full of endless killing intent. The bandits around him were also staring at him. The fat middle-aged man's throat began swelling, then he scratched and scrambled towards Jian Wushuang without hesitation. "Sir, sir!" This fat, middle-aged man yelled in anxiety, but he quickly changed how he addressed him. "No, boss. Please wait." Jian Wushuang, and this man quickly left the residence of the Purple Fire Gang. In the boundless plain, Jian Wushuang was moving slowly, with a fat man following him. "Fatty, what is your name?" asked by Jian Wushuang. "Tang Wuji," the man answered. "Where are you from?" "From Tianzong Dynasty." Tang Wuji gave an honest reply. "Tianzong Dynasty?" Jian Wushuang's expression changed slightly, but there was a more apparent grin on his face. "I come from Tianzong Dynasty as well. Since you have reached the exceptional gold core realm, you are supposed to be an expert in the Tianzong Dynasty. So, how did you become a bandit in Easternmost Plain?" Jian Wushuang asked. "I had no choice," Tang Wuji helplessly said. "A group of my enemies was trying to kill me, so I had to leave. I had planned to travel to another dynasty, only to run into the bandits of the Purple Fire Gang when I arrived in Easternmost Plain. Fortunately, I have a silver tongue and tried my best to please them so that I could keep my life. Since then, I have been staying with the Purple Fire Gang." "Is that true?" Jian Wushuang frowned and said, "You mentioned that you were faced with a group of enemies. I wonder who they were or which group they belonged to." "It was the Nine Emperors sect," Tang Wuji said. When he mentioned it, his voice instantly became cold, and there was a sharp light shining in his eyes, which made him look totally different from his previous image when he was mortally afraid of dying. "The Nine Emperors sect." Jian Wushuang became more astonished. What a coincidence! When he came to hunt in the Easternmost Plain, the first person he met was this fatty. Not only were both of them from Tianzong Dynasty, but, more importantly, they had the same enemy. After all, the Nine Emperors sect was complicit with the Blood Feather Tower, which made them enemies with Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang quickly came to a conclusion. Tang Wuji belonged to the Pavilion of Raindrops from Tian Province. The Pavilion of Raindrops was known for its ability to collect news from every corner of the city, which made it reputable in Tian Province. As for Tang Wuji, he must be the young master from the Pavilion of Raindrops. 3 years ago, the Pavilion of Raindrops and the Nine Emperors sect fought each other because of some benefits, leading to their destruction by the Nine Emperors sect. Then, the young master was chased by the Nine Emperors sect, forcing him to become a bandit in the Easternmost Plain. Tang Wuji, since you have stayed in the Easternmost Plain for almost 3 years, you must be very familiar with these bandit groups, right? Asked by Jian Wushuang. Of course, Tang Wuji nodded with certainty and said, "I, as the young master of the Pavilion of Raindrops, which was best at intelligence, received strict training. Although my power isn't the best. When it comes intelligence, there is no bandit in the whole Easternmost Plain that is better than me." "Good," said Jian Wushuang with a grin, "so you can just stay with me for the following days." Chapter 188, Provocation. Chapter 188, Provocation. In the coming days, Jian Wushuang continued to hunt in the Easternmost Plain while Tang Wuji sincerely followed him and provided him with information about the other bandits. It should be mentioned that Tang Wuji was a worthy member of the Pavilion of Raindrops who was very good at collecting information. What he provided was amazingly precise. Jian Wushuang dealt with the gangs of bandits one by one according to Tang Wuji's information. He directly broke into the dens of those bandits, killed the fugitives who had armlets in a simple and brutal way, and then left. Among the many bandits in the Easternmost Plain, only a few of them were able to threaten Jian Wushuang. With his strength and precise information, he didn't need to be so cautious. For days passed in the blink of an eye. At night, the stars were glowing, shining on the boundless plain. Jian Wushuang casually sat cross-legged with a slightly serious expression. Tomorrow is the last day of the hunt, but I don't know if I have enough armlets, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. The toughest part was the unclear specification of the hunting in Stage 1. No matter how many armlets you had, you would attempt to kill more fugitives and get more armlets so that you could feel relieved. Tang Wuji. Jian Wushuang looked over at the man, who was snoring in his sleep. Tang Wuji instantly woke up with a start and asked, "Boss, is there anything I can do for you? Today, you mentioned that there is a gang of bandits which are led by a blood jade fugitive. Is that right?" Jian Wushuang asked. "Exactly." Tang Wuji nodded and said, "I heard this from the first leader of the Purple Fire Gang. That man is named Gu Changsheng, a high-profile person who always invites famous bandits to his feasts. The first leader of the Purple Fire Gang had ever been to the feast and knew Gu Changsheng was a blood jade fugitive." Jian Wushuang slightly narrowed his eyes and said, "Generally speaking, blood jade fugitives reach the profound Yin Void realm, with only a few of them reaching the exceptional Yin Void realm. But what level is Gu Changsheng at?" "The peak of the profound Yin Void realm," Tang Wuji answered. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lit up as he said, "All right, tomorrow Gu Changsheng is our target." "Okay." Tang Wuji immediately nodded with excitement. An ordinary person would definitely think Jian Wushuang had gone mad when he, a warrior at the profound Gold Core realm, vainly attempted to deal with a warrior at the peak profound Yin Void realm. But Tang Wuji didn't. After all, while following Jian Wushuang these last 4 days, he had witnessed Jian Wushuang kill many strong bandits one by one, even though he was only in the profound Gold Core realm. The bandits in the initial Yin Void realm were almost killed by Jian Wushuang with a single move. Even counting warriors in the profound Yin Void realm, Jian Wushuang had killed 3 in these last 4 days. Moreover, he directly broke into their dens and killed them under the siege of a large number of bandits. Since he was able to kill warriors of the profound Yin Void realm, even while surrounded, he was also able to kill those warriors in the peak profound Yin Void realm. The next morning, there were a lot of bandits gathering around the villages in the easternmost plain. Good liquor and gourmet food were placed on the long, narrow tables. Several beautiful women who were caught were dancing in the center of the room. "Come on, white lady, a toast to you since it is so hard to meet you," said a strapping and intelligently dressed elder, with a smile, who held a bowl of liquor. "First Leader Gu, I should toast to you," said the absolutely beautiful lady in white, as she slightly smiled and picked up the bowl. Many bandits had been charmed by her every movement. However, suddenly, bang! The door of the village was kicked open and a middle-aged man with a round belly entered. That was Tang Wuji. As soon as he entered the village, he directly yelled in a swaggeringly way, "Where is Gu Changsheng? My boss asks me to leave you a message." Many bandits in the village immediately looked towards Tang Wuji, including Gu Changsheng and White Lady. "What?" While looking at Gu Changsheng, Tang Wuji instantly grinned and said, "Gu Changsheng, my boss is interested in your head and would like to compete with you in the 10-mile plain. He is already waiting there. If you are afraid of death, you can stay here." After finishing his words, Tang Wuji paid no attention to their responses as he immediately turned around and left. The atmosphere of the village instantly became depressing. Humph! Gu Changsheng looked gloomy. Spiritual power burst from his palm that was holding the bowl, immediately causing the bowl to crack. "I'm going to see who the hell he is." Then, Gu Changsheng immediately void-walked and violently rushed in the direction which Tang Wuji left. White Lady and many other bandits immediately followed him. In a vacant field, Not far away from the village sat Jian Wushang, who carried the long sword. Shortly afterward, Tang Wuji came trotting and yelling, "Boss, he is coming! Gu Changsheng is coming!" Jian Wushang opened his eyes. When a giant figure rushed toward him from the front air, he spontaneously showed a cold smile. Jian Wushang stood up while Tang Wuji dodged behind him. Whoosh! It was Gu Changsheng, the giant figure, suddenly descended with many bandits following. "Fat guy, where's your boss?" Gu Changsheng coldly looked at Tang Wuji. "My boss is right here." Tang Wuji pointed to Jian Wushang. Gu Changsheng then looked over at Jian Wushang. After observing that the aura from Jian Wushang was of the profound gold core realm, his bleak eyes suddenly lit up. "How dare you fool me?" "Gu Changsheng," Jian Wushang started to speak in an icy voice, "he did not fool you. It is I that wanted to compete with you, and I'm really interested in taking your head." The triple kill sword had been drawn from behind Jian Wushang, and an overwhelming sword essence was slowly being released. Having seen this, the gang of bandits following Gu Changsheng wore an awkward look. Tang Wuji was at least a warrior in the exceptional gold core realm. However, Jian Wushang was only in the profound gold core realm. Was a warrior of the profound gold core realm interested in the head of an expert who reached the peak profound void realm? Had he gone crazy? However, Jian Wushang didn't care about it at all. With a flash of icy cold sword light, he had taken action. "Go to hell." Gu Changsheng kept still with a bleak face, but his spiritual power had transformed into a sharp blade, violently rushing toward Jian Wushang. Chapter 189, Sky Valley. Chapter 189, Sky Valley. The flashing cold sword light crashed against the virtual blade flash that was formed using spiritual power. The cold sword light instantly crushed the blade light as easy as stepping on dead grass. What a surprised gleam appeared in Gu Changsheng's eyes. This gold core. He was a warrior at the peak profound void realm. To resist his blade light, an ordinary warrior in the initial void realm would need to use their full strength. For warriors beneath the void realm, they wouldn't even be able to survive. But this gold core realm warrior not only warded off, but also smashed his blade light in only an instant. Chuu. The sword shadow appeared in front of Gu Changsheng like a sinister viper. Gu Changsheng sneered, and a cyan saber suddenly appeared in his hands. A strong, raging fire essence radiated from the saber and then slashed towards Jian Wushang. Clang! During this violent fight, he had used his full power. What? Gu Changsheng was shocked when he realized that he was being dominated in this fight. He was even forced to retreat several steps by the counterforce of the attack. At the same time, Jian Wushang quickly brandished his longsword again, as the shadow of his sword turned into a ray of flowing light. Selfless sword technique, idealistic form. Shua. A glaring and flowing light appeared in front of Gu Changsheng, drifting through the air like a whisper. Gu Changsheng didn't dare belittle Jian Wushang again, continuously swinging his saber in an attempt to strike back. However, it was already too late to force Jian Wushang back. Bang! With the collision of these terrifying powers, Gu Changsheng grunted and stepped back awkwardly. Killing intent flashed in Jian Wushang's eyes. Shua! A streak of sword light quickly swept forward. It moved at an incredible speed. The move Jian Wushang displayed just now was the 9th move of the formless sword art. Though his overall strength had not improved too much in the past 2 months, his level of swordsmanship and sword skill still improved, and he had already grasped the 9th move of the formless sword art. Now, the 9th move flew towards Gu Changsheng's throat at an amazing speed. Gu Changxing's eyes were full of unwillingness. He didn't want to lose like this because he had not displayed his full strength yet, and he hadn't even had a chance to. If he could get one more chance, even if it was a straightforward battle with Jian Wushuang, he would not be afraid. But it was already too late. Plop! Gu Changxing's body dropped to the ground, while Jian Wushuang looked at his body with ice-cold eyes. "You are so cocky, so you didn't take me seriously." Jian Wushuang shook his head with a smile. With Jian Wushuang's true strength, he could just barely fight against someone in the exceptional Yin Void realm, but Gu Changxing was at the peak profound Yin Void realm. Jian Wushuang's strength was just a little bit stronger than his. Jian Wushuang believed that he could suppress him, but couldn't kill him in a head-on battle. After all, once a warrior in the Yin-Yang Void realm chose to void walk, Jian Wushuang would be unable to fight with them. However, Gu Changxing looked down on him from the beginning. He did not use his full strength to resist Jian Wushuang's moves, and Jian Wushuang took advantage of this by using his full strength. In just a few moves, Gu Changxing had been killed by Jian Wushuang before he had time to show his true ability. After killing Gu Changxing, Jian Wushuang bent over and took the Blood Jade armlet. After taking the Blood Jade armlet, Jian Wushuang smiled and muttered, "With this Blood Jade, my armlets should be enough to meet the requirement. Tang Wuji, let's go." Jian Wushuang just turned around and left, with Tang Wuji rushing to follow him. They left the cold body of Gu Changxing lying on the ground, surrounded by a group of shocked bandits. Even the beautiful face of White Lady was full of panic. That was the combination of 3 sword essences, Gale, Raging Fire, and Water Drop. A profound Yin Void realm warrior was just killed by someone in the profound Gold Core realm. That exceptional genius should be from one of the 12 dynasties who joined the easternmost hunt. After claiming Gu Changxing's Blood Jade armlet, Jian Wushuang believed he had reached the requirement for passing the first stage, so he didn't want to fight with fugitives in the little bit of time that remained. Nighttime quickly arrived. "Tang Wuji." Jian Wushuang looked at Tang Wuji, threw him an interspatial ring, and said, "I've killed many Yin Void warriors these last few days. Everything I got from them is in that ring I just gave you." "Boss, what do you want me to do?" Tang Wuji looked at Jian Wushuang curiously. "I have other things to do, so it is not convenient to take you with me. Take this stuff and go back to the Tianzong dynasty. You don't need to worry about the 9 Emperors sect. They just suffered a big loss, so they don't have the energy to try and kill you," Jian Wushuang said. Tang Wuji furrowed his eyebrows and looked at Jian Wushuang seriously. Then he nodded his head heavily and left. Not long after Tang Wuji left, a griffin landed in front of Jian Wushuang, with a black armored sergeant riding on its back. "Tianzong Dynasty, Jian Wushuang. The 5 days are up, and your hunting time has ended. Now, come with me," the black armored sergeant said in a cold voice. The aura of this sergeant was obviously in the Yin Void realm. "Okay." Jian Wushuang got on the griffin's back without any hesitation. Then he rushed toward the center of the easternmost plain together with this black-armored sergeant. Though the easternmost plain was a boundless prairie, there were still some mountains and rivers. At the center of the easternmost plain laid a vast rift called Sky Valley. It was called Sky Valley because it was a place where people could ascend to a new level. The black-armored sergeant led Jian Wushuang to one of the entrances of Sky Valley. "That's the gathering place for Tianzong Dynasty's geniuses. Please go down," the black-armored said. Jian Wushuang nodded and then jumped down. A few geniuses were already waiting at the entrance of the rift, including Su Ro. As Lu Xian showed up at the entrance, all of them looked at him. "Third brother." Su Ro immediately went to stand beside Jian Wushuang. Fourth sister, how many armlets did you collect during the hunt? Are you sure you have enough to pass the first stage? Jian Wushuang asked. Su Ro shook her head and said, I'm not sure. I only have a few armlets. Jian Wushuang's complexion changed slightly. He had enough armlets to meet the requirement, but unfortunately, he couldn't give his spare armlets to Su Ro. The ones who have arrived shall wait here. After the geniuses of your Tianzong dynasty have all arrived, I will announce the required armlet quantity, said a purple-robed elder who was coldly standing at the entrance. Obviously, this elder was not from Tianzong dynasty, but from another dynasty. Otherwise, his attitude towards them would not have been so indifferent. But Jian Wushuang and his comrades were not angry. They just waited quietly. Soon after, all those Tianzong dynasty's geniuses of this hunt were gathered here. Chapter 190, 1388 points. Chapter 190, 1388 points. Now that everybody is here, I will announce the requirement for passing the first stage, the purple-robed elder said. Jian Wushuang and his comrades were slightly stunned. 15 people participated in the hunt, but only 13 of them were here now, yet the purple-robed elder said everybody was here. Jian Wushuang and his comrades immediately realized that the missing 2 might have died during the hunt. I was not in danger during the hunt because my strength is greater than my comrades. In addition, I knew the strength of the bandits thanks to Tang Wuji's detailed information. But Jian Wushuang sighed with helplessness. Life and death were decreed by fate. For most geniuses, the easternmost hunt was not only a great opportunity, but also a great peril. Opportunity and danger always went hand in hand. Hand over your armlets, the purple-robed elder said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang and other participators immediately took out the armlets they had gained during the 5 days of difficult hunting. We will use points to measure the result of the hunt this time, the purple-robed elder narrated. The armlets are divided into 4 levels. They include black iron, silver, purple gold, and blood jade. Each level has corresponding points. A black iron armlet equals 1 point. A silver armlet equals 10 points. A purple gold armlet equals 100 points. And a blood jade armlet equals 1,000 points. 100 points are needed to pass this stage. Hearing this, many of those 13 geniuses present looked embarrassed. Now, everybody step forward and pass me your armlets, the purple-robed elder continued. Shortly after saying that, a genius, with an agonizing look on his face, stepped forward and passed his armlets to the purple-robed elder. The purple-robed elder put a cold smile on his face after he counted the armlet. You have 20 armlets, but 18 of them are black iron armlets, and only 2 are silver armlets. 38 points in total. So you are not qualified to participate in the point battle. The gray-robed elder announced it openly, making this genius complexion turn pale. Then another genius stepped forward. You got 84 points, much more than the last one. But unfortunately, you are not eligible to participate in the second stage either. 61 points, not qualified. 21 points, trash. There were several geniuses who stepped forward in succession, but none qualified for the point battle in the second stage. At this moment, Feng Yutian, who was from the gladiator arena, stepped forward. Feng Yutian was ranked 4th in the updated Earthly Dragon list in the Tianzong dynasty. 124 points. Finally, there is someone who can participate in the second stage. But with so few points, you will be one of the weakest among the top geniuses in the second stage. You may easily lose your life, the purple-robed elder said. Then he gave the armlets back to Feng Yuqian. What the purple-robed elder said made Feng Yuqian look bad, but he was not angry. After taking the armlets, he quietly stood aside. The remained geniuses stepped forward one by one, and the corresponding results came out. Mu Yingying got 136 points. Bailey Chun got 349 points. Yang Zixuan got 275 points. Su Rou got 115 points. Except for them, no other disciples surpassed 100 points. Yang Zixuan, how did you get 2 purple gold armlets? Bailey Chun looked at Yang Zixuan in surprise. Both Mu Yingying and Feng Yuqian also stared at Yang Zixuan. Both Mu Yingying and Feng Yuqian were ranked higher than Yang Zixuan. But in the end, Yang Zixuan got twice as many points as they did. How could they not be shocked? Yang Zixuan looked indifferent. He was just standing there like a stone, not explaining anything. As for Su Rou's points, people thought it was reasonable because Su Rou had pushed Shui Yun back during the selection battle. All the geniuses of Tianzong dynasty who participated in the hunt already knew their points except for Jian Wushuang. At this point, he stepped forward as well and walked towards the purple-robed elder. Jian Wushuang took out the armlets he gained during the 5 days of hunting. After seeing Jian Wushuang take out over 10 armlets in succession, the purple-robed elder was in shock. Among these 10 or so armlets, the black iron and silver armlets could be neglected, but there were 3 purple gold armlets and 1 blood jade armlet. Blood jade armlet? The purple-robed elder looked at Jian Wushuang with astonishment. Normally, the beasts that owned the blood jade armlet had at least reached the peak profound Yin Void realm. However, one of these warriors was killed by a genius who was only in the gold core realm. This rarely occurred in the 12 dynasties. Normally, such super geniuses only existed in the 2 large empires and few middle-sized empires. But now, unexpectedly, a small empire produced one. In total, 1,388 points. Well done, young man, the purple-robed elder said, while looking at Jian Wushuang. The way he looked at Jian Wushuang was obviously different from the other geniuses. After all, a genius who could get more than 1,000 points in the hunt was at the pinnacle of all 12 dynasties. After hearing Jian Wushuang's points, the other geniuses were all stunned. So many points. His points are more than 1,000 higher than Bailey Chun. How could he kill a beast that owned a blood jade armlet? He's a real monster. The geniuses were all looking at Jian Wushuang, especially those who were not qualified to participate in the second stage. Their eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. Unfortunately, even though Jian Wushuang gained so many points, he couldn't share them. All right, I have recorded everyone's score. The geniuses who are not qualified for the second stage can leave now, the purple-robed elder said. Hearing this, the geniuses who did not have enough points sadly left, one after the other. Among the 13 geniuses who survived, only 6 had enough points and were entitled to attend the second stage. They were Jian Wushuang, Yang Zixuan, Su Rou, Bailey Chun, Mu Yingying, and Feng Yuqian. You 6 already did a good job by passing the first stage. Next, I will tell you guys the rules for stage 2, the purple-robed elder said. The goal in stage 2 is actually very simple. It's point stealing. The armlets you collected during the hunt, which can represent your points, have been returned to you. Over the next 10 days, you will enter Sky Valley and battle with the warriors from the other dynasties for the armlets. After 10 days, a ranking will be created according to the points you collect. In the end, geniuses who rank in the top 10 will be rewarded by the 12 dynasties. The higher the ranking is, the greater the rewards. Chapter 191, the rankings. Chapter 191, the rankings. Jian Wushuang and the other geniuses all looked serious. Rewards from the 12 dynasty. But no one present cared about it. What they really cared about were the old sections. The point battle in Sky Valley was a way to display their strength to the experts of the old sections. The experts from the old sects did not come to the 5-day hunt, nor the selection battle in Tianzong dynasty. But Sky Valley was different. The point battle would attract the interest of the old sections, and how the geniuses performed in Sky Valley would be viewed by the experts of the old sections. The point battle in Sky Valley will begin tomorrow. The battle will last for 10 days, so you guys should stay here tonight and prepare yourselves. No sooner than the words been uttered, the purple-robed elder closed his eyes without giving Jian Wushuang and other geniuses one more glance. But this night was doomed to be restless for these 6 geniuses. The night was beautiful. A towering palace stood on a hill not far from the Sky Valley. The palace was ablaze with light. The easternmost plain had very few buildings since it was a plain. Even the bandits could only simply build mountain villages here. However, a palace existed on the hill. Inside the palace, people were singing and dancing. Several formidable auras radiated from here. The people who gathered in the palace were the monarchs of the 12 dynasties. The monarch in Tianzong dynasty, Dishi, was there as well. But since Tianzong dynasty was just a small empire, he was sitting at the far corner. Those monarchs were talking and laughing. At this moment, a red-robed woman stepped inside. Monarchs, the geniuses from the 12 dynasties, have reached the Sky Valley entrance. The points they gained in the 5-day hunt have been counted, and this is the list, the red-robed woman respectfully said. "Haha, finally! Hurry, give it to us. Hurry up, let me have a look." Having been rushed by the monarchs, the red-robed woman gave every monarch a list. The list did not only contain the points every genius got in the hunt, but also a ranking according to their points. "Ha! First place is Meng Wutian, who is from our Angel Empire. I expected that." At the head of the table, there were 2 seats which were obviously bigger than the others. 2 people were sitting in the seats, and both were wearing an emperor robe. One of them was an elder, who seemed to have experienced many of the vicissitudes of life without losing his majestic appearance. The other one was much younger. His behavior was a little bit frivolous, but what he said was extremely arrogant. They were monarchs of the 2 large empires in the 12 dynasties, which were the Cosmos Empire and the Angel Empire. The one who was laughing loudly was the frivolous young man, the monarch of Angel Empire. Ling Shuiyu, what a disappointing fellow, the experienced elder shouted in a deep voice. First place in the ranking was Meng Wutian, who was from the Angel Empire. Second place was Ling Shuiyu, who was from the Cosmos Empire. "Ha ha!" The frivolous man laughed even louder. "Don't be complacent. The points are just from the hunt in the first stage. It's just the beginning. We should focus on the upcoming point battle." The experienced elder looked at the frivolous man and said, "Meng Wutian is indeed ranked first according to the current points, but the ranking might change after the point battle." The elder continued. "Oh, maybe?" The frivolous man laughed. His eyes were filled with pride. He knew what the elder said was true, but he did not care. Since at this moment, the Angel Empire had attracted more attention than the Cosmos Empire did. The other monarchs below were carefully reviewing the list as well. As expected, the geniuses who are ranked close to the top are from large empires. The geniuses in our middle-sized empires already did a good job just by being on the ranking. Look, There is a genius from the Tianzong dynasty ranked in the top 10. What? The monarchs in the palace were all stunned. They immediately looked at Di Shi, who was sitting in the corner. By then, Di Shi was reviewing the list as well. After seeing Jian Wushuang's name in the top 10, his eyes were glistening. "Haha, good job. The young man did a good job." Di Shi could not help laughing loudly as he spoke. Seeing the state of Di Shi, the monarchs of the other dynasties around him all looked embarrassed, and a few of them were even jealous. Drift Cloud Empire is a middle-sized empire, but we failed to produce a genius who could make it into the top 10 of the rankings. Yet this Tianzong dynasty, which is just a small empire, managed to have one. A few monarchs from the middle-sized empires felt it was a loss of face for them, but they could control themselves. After all, these points were just for the first stage, which didn't mean anything. The coming point battle in Stage 2, which would begin soon, was the real competition for the geniuses of the 12 dynasties. There would be an updated list after the competition. That list would be the most important. By the way, the point battle of Sky Valley will begin tomorrow. At that time, the experts from the old sects will come to have a look. The frivolous man said suddenly. No sooner had the monarchs in the palace heard someone speak about the old sects than they immediately quieted down. Many old sects will come this time. I already knew 6 of them. Among the 6 old sects, one is the Wilderness Sword sect. The frivolous man smiled and said, "Wilderness Sword sect, one of the 8 sects of Nantian. How could the easternmost hunt this year attract someone from the Wilderness Sword sect?" Everybody in the palace was in shock. There were differences in strength among the old sections. The Wilderness Sword sect, which was known as one of the 8 sects of Nanyang continent, had a strong heritage that was naturally better than other old sections. Needless to say, the geniuses would have greater opportunities in the Wilderness Sword sect than in some of the other old sections. The Wilderness Sword sect, it's a sect that specializes in sword skills. Di Shi's eyes lit up and muttered, "Jian Wushuang is talented in sword principle. With such talent in sword principle, he might be valued by the experts of the Wilderness Sword sect." All right, let's end the party. You guys have the rest of the night to meet your geniuses. You can show them the list and give them some instructions. Tomorrow, everything will depend on their own ability, the experienced elder said sonorously. As soon as the elder uttered this, the monarchs in the party fanned out one after another. Di Shi had lost no time gliding towards Sky Valley with the list in his hand. Chapter 192, 2 Monsters. Chapter 192, 2 Monsters. At one of the entrances to Sky Valley, the remaining 6 geniuses of the Tianzong dynasty had gathered together. "Feng Yuqian, congratulations. Brother Feng, you made a breakthrough before entering Sky Valley. You're so lucky. I also envy him." The other 5 people stared at Feng Yuqian with smiles on their faces. Feng Yuqian suddenly felt like he could make a breakthrough. Now, he was currently in the half-step yin-yang realm. After the breakthrough, Feng Yuqian's strength immediately soared. The point battle in Sky Valley was done in groups composed of the dynasties. The promotion of Feng Yuqian's strength would also enhance the battle strength of their team. So they were, naturally, happy to see that. "Ha! So lucky," said Feng Yuqian while laughing naturally. At this moment, a great figure suddenly appeared. It was Di Shi in his imperial robe. "Your Majesty." Jian Wushuang and other 5 geniuses greeted him respectfully. "Greetings to you, monarch." The purple-robed elder, who was waiting beside them, also gave him a light greeting. "I have something to tell these guys. You'd better keep away from us for a while," Di Shi said while glancing at the purple-robed elder. The purple-robed elder nodded and subsequently stepped back tactfully. "You 6 did very well." Di Shi looked at Jian Wushuang and his comrades with a solemn expression, and continued, "But the point battle in Sky Valley is different from the hunt in the first stage. During the hunt in the first stage, you just battled with fugitives. Although the strength of those fugitives is strong, they aren't a real threat to you. But in the Sky Valley point battle, you are going to compete with the geniuses of the other 11 dynasties. None of them are weaker than you. Instead, many of them are stronger than you. Here is the ranking. You'd better review it carefully." She gave Jian Wushuang the rankings that he attained at the banquet. Jian Wushuang immediately accepted it and opened it. The other 5 moved close to him. The ranking of those geniuses from the 12 dynasties, according to the points they obtained during the 5-day hunt. Jian Wushuang read it at first glance. First place on the rankings is the Meng Wutian of the Angel Empire, with 6,877 points. Second place is the Ling Shuiyu of the Cosmos Empire, with 5,900 points. Third place is Gu Yan of the Cosmos Empire, with 1,944 points. Fourth place on the rankings, Angel Empire. Fifth place, Angel Empire. Sixth place, Cosmos Empire. At first glance, the geniuses from the first to sixth place on the ranking were, expectedly, all from the Cosmos Empire and the Angel Empire. It was normal for the 2 big dynasties to occupy the top 6 on the rankings, with each dynasty occupying 3 spots on average. Furthermore, the most important part was that the points they obtained were extremely high. First place, Meng Wutian, got 6,877 points. Unbelievable. Seeing the points, even Jian Wushuang was shocked, let alone Bailey Chun and the others. Among the 6 of them, Jian Wushuang was the best, but he only obtained 1,388 points. For the others, Bailey Chun had the most, with only 349 points. However, Meng Wutian collected 6,877 points in the short 5-day hunt. So what does this show? He should have killed at least 6 fugitives who were at the level of Blood Jade, and also should have killed many fugitives that are at the level of Purple Gold, Jian Wushuang muttered in shock. He did his best and finally killed a Blood Jade warrior. However, Meng Wutian was much stronger. Not just Meng Wutian. It was also true for Ling Shuiyu, who was in second place. Their points were much higher than the rest. After all, Gu Yan, who ranked third, only had 1,944 points. How did these 2 people kill so many Blood Jade killers in just 5 days? Said Jian Wushuang, while frowning tightly. Blood Jade fugitives are at least at the peak profound Void realm. In a fierce battle, even Jian Wushuang was not sure he would be able to kill them. After all, they wouldn't be stupid enough to just stand there and wait for Jian Wushuang to kill. Once something happened, the opposite side would immediately flee, and all the Void experts were able to void walk. Once they began void walking, there would be no way to stop them. It was only because of good luck that Jian Wushuang killed that Blood Jade fugitive last time. The opposite side was too conceited. But not all of the Blood Jade fugitives were conceited. Since it was not because of luck, there should be another reason. The reason was Meng Wutian and Ling Shuiyu. They were so powerful that the peak profound Void realm experts never had a chance to void walk. They were instantly killed. Right now, even Jian Wushuang didn't have such strength. Frightening. I thought that Jian Wushuang and Shui Yun were the strongest. It is obvious that the exceptional geniuses from 2 large empires are much stronger than them. 6,877 points. My God, how did he do that? Bailey Chun and Feng Yutian stared at the rankings with incredible expressions. Especially Feng Yutian. He had made a big progress just now, so he already had much more confidence in the Sky Valley Point battle. But now, he lost some of his confidence. Next to them, Mu Yingying, Yang Zishuan, and Su Ro also had grave expressions. Hey, Jian Wushuang, what is your rank? Bailey Chen added. Jian Wushuang immediately looked at the list and found his rank. Jian Wushuang, from the Tianzong dynasty, 9th place with 1,388 points. 9th place. Bailey Chen was astonished and then looked at Jian Wushuang and said, You are so powerful. How come you are only ranked 9th? Jian Wushuang smiled briefly, but his heart was filled with astonishment. It really was astonishing. Among the gold core realm warriors in Tianzong dynasty, there was no doubt that he was the strongest. However, the Tianzong dynasty was only a small empire. Undoubtedly, the world outside Tianzong dynasty was vast. It was not only the 12 northwestern dynasties that had countless geniuses. Some of them were not any weaker than him, and some of them were even stronger than him. How do you feel after reading this list? Dishi asked. I am feeling a lot of pressure, Bailey Chen answered directly. After I made my breakthrough to half-step yin-yang, my strength had soared, so I expected to rank in the top 10 among the geniuses of 12 dynasties. But in reality, I'm not even in the top 20. Bailey Chen noticed that he was ranked 26th on the list. Jian Wushuang, how do you feel? Dishi asked and looked at Jian Wushuang. It is only the ranking for the hunt, which means nothing, Jian Wushuang said seriously. Yes, that's right. Dishi smiled slightly and continued. This ranking is just to show you the strength of the geniuses from the different dynasties. It doesn't have any other use. Chapter 193, The Final Battle Begins. Chapter 193, The Final Battle Begins. Dishi continued and said, Even if you compete for a better ranking in the second stage, it will not matter much. After all, the experts from the old sects don't care about your current strength, only your potential. You just need to show your talent and potential in Sky Valley. It doesn't matter if you enter the top 10 of the ranking. As long as your talent and potential are high, the experts from those old sects will naturally come to you. After hearing this, the eyes of Jian Wushuang and the others brightened. Indeed, they did not have to compete for the top 10 ranks in the point battle. After all, they attached more importance to the old sects rather than the rankings. As long as those old sects paid attention to them and accepted them as disciples, that was enough. Tomorrow, there will be a lot of old sects that come to watch the battle. There will also be a top sect called the Wilderness Sword Sect, said Dishi with a smile. Then he looked at Jian Wushuang. Wilderness Sword Sect? Jian Wushuang asked and raised his eyebrows. He was a warrior that focused on sword principle. He was naturally eager to join a sect that excelled in sword principle. Obviously, the Wilderness Sword Sect was most suitable for him. Jian Wushuang, with your talent, as long as you perform well in the point battle, you will attract the experts from the Wilderness Sword Sect, Dishi said. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded seriously, and a glimmer of desire emerged in his eyes. By the way, there is one more thing, Dishi said as he looked around again. The point battle will be launched among teams of warriors from the same dynasty. The 12 dynasties should have 12 teams, but the two large empires have more geniuses participating in the point battle since their overall strength is better. Therefore, they will be separated into 4 teams. Altogether, there should be 14 teams competing in the point battle. You 6 are naturally a team, but since you are a team, you need a leader. The team leader must be chosen by you. I think it should be based on strength. Jian Wushuang's strength is the best among us, so the leader should him, Feng Yuqian said without hesitation. I agree. Bailey Chen raised his brows. I agree, too. Mu Yingying nodded. Naturally, Yang Zishuan and Su Ro also agreed. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang touched his nose and gave a faint smile. In that case, it has been determined. Di Shi also smiled and said, Jian Wushuang, the next 2 weeks are up to you. I'll warn you again. When you leave tomorrow, you will each be given a token. If you find yourself at your limit, you must immediately crumple the token. This is equivalent to giving up the battle. Someone will come and take you away from Sky Valley. In any case, staying alive is more important. Yes, Jian Wushuang and the others nodded. From here on, you can only rely on yourselves. I wish you all good luck, Di Shi said, and then he immediately left. Jian Wushuang and the others looked towards the huge valley in front of them with great enthusiasm. Tomorrow, in that valley, they would finally meet with the geniuses from the other 11 dynasties. In the morning, as dawn was just breaking, as the sun began rising above the vast plains with the first red rays, gusts of battle intent were also rising. At the 12 entrances to Sky Valley, numerous talented geniuses from the 12 dynasties had already begun gearing up. They were waiting to enter the valley and begin their most intense battles. At one of the entrances to Sky Valley, the remaining 6 geniuses of the Tianzong dynasty were waiting together. This is the token representing your identity. Each of you has only one token. After entering Sky Valley, you must always wear this token on a conspicuous place of your body so that the geniuses of the other dynasties can recognize you, that purple-robed elder said. What? Jian Wushuang, and others felt it was quite strange, but did not ask more. Soon after, a huge bell sounded, and the whole Sky Valley suddenly became turbulent. It's time. Enter, the purple-robed elder said, and waved. There was a hint of excitement in the 6 people's eyes as they moved directly along the entrance to the dense valley. At the same time, the geniuses of the other dynasties were also entering Sky Valley. The easternmost hunt was held every 10 years, and its climax was the point battle in Sky Valley. Now the game had begun. While the geniuses of the 12 dynasties rushed into Sky Valley, there was something in the air above the highest point in Sky Valley. Rumbled figures radiating an oppressive atmosphere were standing there. Some of their auras were hot, some were cold, some were violent, and some were easygoing. The monarchs of the 12 dynasties were all here, with guards separating them from the experts. In addition, the most noticeable experts were from the old sections. The experts from the old sects had arrived early this morning. At a glance, there were no fewer than 10 old sects, and the most striking sect was definitely the Wilderness Sword sect. A total of 3 people came from the Wilderness Sword sect. The leader of the 3 people was a middle-aged man with bird eyes. He was carrying a long sword and sitting on a suspended seat with a towering aura. His entire body gave off the impression of a sword. This middle-aged man was followed by 2 other people. They were also carrying long swords, and their auras were cold. Both of them had obviously entered the Yang Void realm. Warriors of Yang Void realm were naturally the most supreme experts in the Tianzong dynasty. However, in the old sects on the Nanyang continent, there were many warriors in the Yang Void realm. Mr. Ling Tian, I never expected you to come in person this time. Mr. Ling Tian, I haven't seen you for many years. How are you? Ha! Brother Ling Tian, I did not realize that the Wilderness Sword sect was also interested in the easternmost hunt. Many of the surrounding experts and monarchs had greeted the middle-aged man with bird eyes. This middle-aged man, named Mo Ling Tian, was a law enforcement elder in the Wilderness Sword sect. He had an extremely high status in the Wilderness Sword sect, so it was normal for so many people to attempt to flatter him. However, Mo Ling Tian seemed very cold and indifferent to these people. To the people who called out to him, he just casually responded with a word. At the bottom of his heart, Tian was full of disdain towards these people, including the two monarchs of the large empires. He never cared for them at all. Just a small northwest district that can be neglected in the entire Nanyang continent. What kind of geniuses can be born in such a small place? What was the sect master thinking when he made me come here? Tian was very reluctant. He did not want to come here. He was only following the sect master's order. As for the 12 dynasties in the northwest, he looked down on them from the bottom of his heart. The so-called geniuses of the 12 dynasties in the northwest were negligible at best. Coming here was only a pretense. He did not plan to bring any disciples with him to the wilderness sword sect. Chapter 194, Encounter. Chapter 194, Encounter. Haha, here we go. As a monarch spoke, all the experts in the air looked down. They stood high above the area, so they could see the entire valley down below. Inside Sky Valley, the 6-warrior team of Tianzong Dynasty slowly walked forward. We will meet the geniuses from other dynasties. Which dynasty will we run into first? Bailey Chen said with excitement. Even though we are from a small empire, our overall strength is far better than before. We don't need to be afraid of the other dynasties, except the 2 large empires. Jian Wushuang said seriously, even if we meet the 2 large empires. The 2 large empires are too strong, and half of the top 30 warriors in the ranking belong to them. Moreover, a lot of their warriors met the point requirement in the first stage. They have so many strong warriors that if they take action together, it will be too unfair for the teams from other empires. They will also have problems distributing the points if they act in a large group, so they will definitely divide into smaller groups. A large empire will be divided into 2 teams or more. With our battle strength, we have a chance to win against one of their smaller teams. The 5 people beside Jian Wushuang all nodded to agree with his words. Indeed, the geniuses of Tianzong Dynasty this time were much stronger than those of previous years, which could be seen from the rankings. The 2 large empires possess half of the geniuses who ranked the top 30 in the standings, and the rest places were carved up by the big contingent of middle-sized empires and small empires. In average, even those middle-sized empires got only 1 or 2 geniuses that could be included in the top 30. As for the small empires, none of the other 3 small empires had a genius that ranked in the top 30. While Tianzong Dynasty 2 geniuses out of 6 were in the top 30, and Jian Wushuang was 9th place in the rankings. On top of that, Feng Yuqian's strength had soared since he broke through to the half-step Yinyang realm after the hunt, so he should have the strength to be ranked in the top 30 now. In other words, 3 out of the 6 had a battle strength that could rank in the top 30. That was even more powerful than those middle-sized empires. Although our overall battle strength is very good, the geniuses from other dynasties will still treat us like a normal small empire. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, if they dare to look down on us, then we will make them pay dearly for their arrogance. I am already looking forward to our first battle. The 6 geniuses were talking and laughing, dispersing the tension that surrounded them before. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang lifted his head and looked forward. Here comes our first opponent. The other 5 also looked forward. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Several figures abruptly appeared on the tree branches not far away. Jian Wushuang and the other 5 also halted their steps. With a distance of about 10 meters, the 2 teams faced each other. It's them, the Drift Cloud Empire. It's a middle-sized empire. Jian Wushuang and his teammates stared at the adversaries in front of them. There were 8 of them, 2 more than their 6-warrior team. Because the warriors all wore their identity tokens on an easily seen place, there was no problem recognizing them. The 8 geniuses from the Drift Cloud Empire were looking at Jian Wushuang and his team as well. It's the Tianzong dynasty, one of the 4 small empires. Ha! Seems like we are lucky. The first team we met is from a small empire. A small empire. They are sending points to us, aren't they? The 8 geniuses from the Drift Cloud Empire were looking forward with sparkling eyes. There was a wide gap between middle-sized empires and small empires. Generally, the difference between geniuses was also huge. Only one of them is difficult to handle, Jian Wushuang, who ranked 9th, said the indigo-robed man, who led the team from the Drift Cloud Empire. He looked over at the 6-man team and eventually fixed his sight on Jian Wushuang. That is Jian Wushuang. The 9th place in the rankings. His ranking is high, but there were too many accidents in the first stage. Even though he has more than me, it doesn't mean that he is stronger than me. The indigo-robed man's eyes were cold. The man's name was Lin Nan, and he was 16th in the rankings. His rank was lower than Jian Wushuang, but he didn't consider himself to be weaker than those who ranked in the top 10. Come on! A cold radiance flickered in the indigo-robed man's eyes. Then his figure darted toward Jian Wushuang and his team like a phantom, followed by the other geniuses from Drift Cloud Empire. The first battle in Sky Valley. There was a hint of excitement in the 6 warriors' eyes. Go get them! Jian Wushuang shouted. In an instant, the 6 warriors pounced forward like eagles. The geniuses from the 2 teams collided. Go to hell! The indigo-robed man, Lin Nan, dashed towards Jian Wushuang first, silently thrusting a jet-black, long stick toward him. The stick contained a high comprehension of earth and raging fire essences, which were perfectly combined together. He was also in the half-step yin-yang realm, making the power that radiated from the stick seem horrifying. This man's battle strength is more powerful than Bailey Chun. Jian Wushuang frowned and thrust out his triple kill sword. Clang! The stick shadow clashed with the triple kill sword, causing the sword to tremble slightly. Then, Jian Wushuang instantly retreated, but Lin Nan followed after him. Boy, go to hell! Lin Nan looked ferocious, using his full power to demonstrate his stick skills. Streaks of stick shadows rushed out in succession, one by one, as if they were stacked together. In this short moment, Lin Nan had thrust out with no less than a dozen stick attacks that used his full power. While Jian Wushuang struggled to ward off the stick with his triple kill sword, he kept retreating backwards and was quickly repulsed by the attacks. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang returned to the giant tree, where he was before the fight started, away from Lin Nan. Bailey Chun and the others also appeared beside him, one after another. In the past moment, they all had encounters with their adversaries. How was it? Jian Wushuang looked at the other 5. Just SOSO. The one who fought against me is in the half-step yin-yang realm, but his comprehension is low. I was able to match him without using my full strength just now. I can definitely kill him. Once I get serious, Bailey Chun smiled and said, although I fought with 2 of them, they both have weak comprehension and they haven't reached half-step yin-yang realm yet. So I'm fairly sure that I can win. Feng Yuqian also said, I can remain undefeated against 2 of them. Yang Zishuan's voice was cold and indifferent. If I fight against one, I can gain the upper hand, said Mu Yingying. I can also compete against one of them, said Su Ro with a timid tone. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help smiling. In the short fight just now, the 6 warriors didn't really exert all their strength. It was just a tentative test. After the test, They'd learned about the strengths of the 8 geniuses from the Drift Cloud Empire. Chapter 195, Frontal Defeat. Chapter 195, Frontal Defeat. This is our first battle in Sky Valley. Jian Wushuang looked around at the other 5 warriors and said, "We must beat them smoothly and quickly to impress the experts from those old sections. Let's get them. Go and hit them. Haha, kill them." The 6 warriors immediately moved, and in the next moment, the battle between the 2 teams started again. But this time, Jian Wushuang and his team showed their true strength. What? Lin Nan, who was fighting Jian Wushuang, was the first one to shout out in astonishment. Lin Nan had been looking down on Jian Wushuang's strength, thinking that it was not bad for 9th place. But now, after Jian Wushuang demonstrated his true strength, a sword swept out, which contained 3 torrential sword essences, Gale, Raging Fire, and Water Drop. When it clashed with Lin Nan's long stick, he was instantly blown backwards. Half-step Yin-Yang realm, and he's combined 2 essences. His battle strength is only a little bit better than Ouyang Haotian, whom I killed, but he is still much weaker than Shui Yun. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold as a sword light blazed forward in the next moment. Selfless sword technique, idealistic form. The sword light pierced the air like a flood dragon and appeared in front of Lin Nan in the blink of an eye. Lin Nan swung his long stick, struggling to withstand the coming attack. But the sword light stormed toward him and knocked his long stick back. Then a hint of killing intent flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Formless sword art, the 9th move was displayed in an instant. Shua, the sword swept through Lin Nan's throat at an amazing speed. Lin Nan's eyes were wide open as he died. He couldn't imagine how Jian Wushuang, who should be weaker than him, could attack with such amazing battle strength. 3 sword moves. It took Jian Wushuang only 3 sword moves to defeat him this time. The first sword move knocked him backward. The second one blew away the long stick in his hand, and the last one killed him mercilessly, smoothly and quickly. The situations in the other battlefields around him were also one-sided. Bailey Chun, Feng Yutian, and Yang Zishuan's strengths completely erupted. Bailey Chun was already 26th in the rankings, but Feng Yutian and Yang Zishuan had displayed a battle strength that could almost compare with Bailey Chen's. How is this possible? Their battle strength increased. They didn't improve. They just deliberately hid their strength. Oh no! As a sudden cry sounded out, the geniuses from the Drift Cloud Empire looked toward the voice. They happened to see the scene where Lin Nan was killed by Jian Wushuang. These geniuses' faces drastically changed in an instant. Withdraw. Escape now. Is Tianzong dynasty really a small empire? These geniuses from Drift Cloud Empire were incomparably frightened as they fled in disorder, not daring to stay any longer. But since the battle already started, it was hard to escape. Go to hell. Haha, stay here. Bailey Chun and the other warriors immediately chased after them. Meanwhile, Jian Wushuang, who had just killed Lin Nan, started to take action as well. In the end, only 2 of the 8 geniuses from Drift Cloud Empire were lucky enough to escape, while the rest of the 6 geniuses were ruthlessly killed by the 6-warrior team. Jian Wushuang and the others stood in the battlefield, looking at the dead bodies of the geniuses from Drift Cloud Empire around them. Smiles emerged on their faces. This was their first battle in Sky Valley. Their adversary was Drift Cloud Empire, one of the 6 middle-sized empires. Yet, they defeated this team perfectly. Only 2 of the 8 geniuses from Drift Cloud Empire escaped by luck, while the other 6 warriors, including 2 geniuses who were in the half-step Yin-Yang realm, were killed. As for the two escaped geniuses, they should have no choice but to crumble their tokens and give up. That was to say, Drift Cloud Empire's geniuses were wiped out because of this battle. Up in the air, above the area. Ha ha! Well down, so well down. Dishi pounded the table and stood up with a dense glow sparkling in his eyes and a surprised smile on his face. On the contrary, the monarch of Drift Cloud Empire's face turned rather livid, while the monarchs of the other dynasties were also wearing a strange expression. How could a small empire defeat a middle-sized empire face-to-face? Are the geniuses of Drift Cloud Empire really so disappointing? It's not that they are disappointing. It's because those geniuses from the Tianzong dynasty this time are unusually extraordinary. Indeed, we all saw the battle just now. Among the 6 geniuses from Tianzong dynasty, 4 of them have enough battle strength to be placed in the top 30 of the rankings. Not only that, Jian Wushuang is 9th place in the rankings. With a strength like this, it is stupid for those geniuses from other dynasties to still think of them as a team from an ordinary small dynasty. Those monarchs were all sighing. The Sky Valley Point battle had just begun, and Drift Cloud Empire was the first dynasty that was defeated. So to speak, the battle was a disgrace to the Drift Cloud Empire. In contrast, Tianzong dynasty was shining this time. Even the experts from those old sects who were gathered together in the air noticed Jian Wushuang and his team. Bring me the information of those little guys. Attendants immediately gave the information of Jian Wushuang and his team to the experts from the old sections. The attendants who were qualified to appear here were all Void warriors. The experts from the old sects read the information with interest. Tianzong dynasty, although just it is a small empire, has some pretty outstanding geniuses this time. Yes, especially the leading one called Jian Wushuang. He is only in the profound gold core realm, but his strength is already so incredible. In addition, he is very young, under 20 years old. Wow, combining Gale, Raging Fire, and Water Drop Sword essences together at such a young age is very impressive. These experts were laughing and talking, but they still looked calm. Sir, here is the information on the geniuses from the Tianzong dynasty. An attendant submitted the information to Mo Lingtian. Put it here, Mo Lingtian said, casually but didn't even bother to look at it. Mr. Lingtian, the little guy named Jian Wushuang is quite good, and luckily for him, he is a warrior cultivating sword principle. Aren't you interested in him? Another expert from an old sect asked him. Jian Wushuang. Mo Lingtian looked down at the ground, sneered, and said, combining 3 sword essences, so what? The 3 essences he comprehended are just normal essences. He hasn't even mastered a special essence. The Wilderness Sword sect won't accept such trash. If any of you are interested in that little guy, you are welcome to take him in as a disciple. Chapter 196, The Cosmos Empire. Chapter 196, The Cosmos Empire. Hearing Mo Lingtian's words, the surrounding warriors frowned slightly, but they did not say anything. As for accepting Jian Wushuang as a disciple, these experts had no such intention for the moment. The old sects had very high standards. Also, the battle in the Sky Valley had just started. In Sky Valley, the battles had just begun. The Drift Cloud Empire was the first to be defeated, with the talented warriors of the major dynasties encountering in the Sky Valley. War broke out. Genius warriors from the various dynasties died one after the other, with some dynasties quickly followed in the footsteps of the Drift Cloud Empire. In a flash, the battle in Sky Valley had lasted for 5 days. In a mountain forest, Jian Wushuang and 5 others stood on a treetop, with serious expressions on their faces. They have encountered 3 teams, in total these last 5 days. The first team they encountered was from the Drift Cloud Empire, and they defeated this team easily. The second one they encountered belonged to a small empire, whose overall strength was weaker than that of the Drift Cloud Empire, so they naturally defeated this team easily as well. However, the third team, the team they just met, was from the Z Dynasty, one of the 6 middle-sized empires. Although the Z Dynasty was only a middle-sized empire, its overall battle strength was much stronger than that of the Drift Cloud Empire. Among the top 30 warriors in the rankings, 3 of them were from the Z Dynasty, including the one who ranked 7th. His rank was higher than Jian Wushuang's. As soon as they encountered the team from Z Dynasty, a fierce battle immediately broke out. This battle was extremely fierce, and the battle strengths of 2 sides were very close. As a result, the 2 sides were evenly matched. Because neither side could defeat the other or even gain an advantage, the 2 teams decided to retreat and leave. "It has been 5 days. Jian Wushuang looked around and said in a low voice, "During the first 5 days of the battle in Sky Valley, due to the large number of teams, it was very easy to encounter teams of warriors from the other 12 dynasties, so the battles were the craziest. However, the weaker teams have almost been defeated during these 5 days. The number of teams left is small, but the teams that can survive in these 5 days all have great battle strength." The 5 people beside Jian Wushuang all nodded in agreement with his words. After 5 days of fierce battle, the weaker teams had all been defeated or knocked out. Only the stronger teams remained, and their team of geniuses from the Tianzong dynasty was one of those teams. "We need to be more cautious in the next few days. The number of teams is small, and chances of meeting with other teams is not as high as the previous 5 days. However, once we run into them, it will be a bloody battle," said Jian Wushuang. In the air above the area, the monarchs were gathered together. Most of them looked a little bit unsightly, and only a few monarchs had smiles on their faces. In these 5 days, many teams from the dynasties had already been eliminated. Now, there were only 7 teams in Sky Valley that were still relatively complete, with sufficient battle strength. Among the 7 teams, the 2 large empires had 2 teams respectively, so they had 4 teams in total. One of the other 3 teams came from the Z Dynasty. The Z Dynasty normally ranked at the top among the 6 middle-sized empires. In the previous easternmost hunts, its geniuses always performed well, so no one was surprised that they managed to hold on this long. Another team belonged to the East Hill Empire, which was also a middle-sized empire. As the level of its disciples was relatively high this time, all the monarchs could understand why this team could stick it out till now as well. But the last team, a team from the Tianzong dynasty. After all, the Tianzong dynasty was only a small empire. Warriors from a small empire being able to hold on this far made many of the surrounding monarchs embarrassed and unhappy. But Dishu was pretty excited. He was very surprised that the team from his Tianzong dynasty could persist till today in this easternmost hunt. He could hold his head high in front of other dynasties. He was extremely satisfied with the performance of Jian Wushuang's team. And if any of the experts from the old sects was impressed by one of the 6 members in Jian Wushuang's team, it would be perfect. Look, a monarch suddenly cried out. All monarchs immediately looked down, and then their expressions turned weird. Many monarchs gloated towards Di Shi at this moment. Ho, Di Shi, the young guys of your Tianzong dynasty performed really well in the easternmost hunt, but it seems that they will have to stop here, said a monarch next to Di Shi while laughing. Di Shi became serious, and he also looked down. He noticed that a small team was slowly approaching the place where Jian Wushuang's team stood, and the 2 teams would meet in no time. And this small team was one of the Cosmos Empire's teams. in the thick jungle, Jian Wushuang, and the others were resting in the treetop when a sudden gust of wind blew through. All 6 members of Jian Wushuang's team immediately raised their heads and saw many figures standing in front of them. Seeing these figures, especially the tokens that they wore to represent their identities, all the 6 members in Jian Wushuang's team turned serious. The Cosmos Empire. Finally, we have encountered a team from a large empire. Luckily, it is only one of the Cosmos Empire's teams. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold, while Bailey Chen and the others beside him all stood up. After all, the Cosmos Empire was a large empire, so the level of its geniuses was much higher than that of the middle-sized empires. This Cosmos Empire's team had 7 people, and 4 of them were in the top 30 of the rankings. The most prominent one was a burly figure with a giant axe on his back. This burly man's aura was the strongest among the 7 people from the Cosmos Empire. All the members, including Jian Wushuang, recognized him as soon as they saw this burly man. Guyan. He was 3rd on the rankings. He ranked 3rd, only behind those 2 monsters, Meng Wuqian and Ling Xueyu. Oh, the Tianzong dynasty. Guyan's eyes were cold as he stared at Jian Wushuang and the others. A strange smile rose from his mouth. Such a small empire actually held on to this point. That's not bad. But now, since you have encountered us, you will have to stop here. Their team only has 6 people, so how do you want to divide them? How will we divide them? According to our speed. Whoever is too slow to find an opponent can only blame themselves. All right, Guyan said while lowering his voice. Enough talk, just do it. Chapter 197, A Fierce Fight. Chapter 197, A Fierce Fight. While the geniuses from the Cosmos Empire looked towards Jian Wushuang and his comrades, Jian Wushuang and his comrades were also staring back at them. It's just a small squad from the Cosmos Empire, with 4 geniuses who ranked in the top 30. Among them, Guyan is the strongest, but our strength is enough to confront them, said Jian Wushuang, with an icy look in his eyes. I will deal with Guyan. Zaishuan, you take one of the remaining 3 who ranked in top 30th. Jian Wushuang looked at Yang Zaishuan and said, Okay. Yang Zaishuan nodded and replied coldly, I can't guarantee that I can defeat him, but I definitely won't be easy to defeat. Su Ro, you should have no problem dealing with one of them with your strength, right? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, no problem. Su Ro nodded slightly and said, I can definitely confine him for a while. All right. Bailey Chen, you shall deal with the remaining one. Jian Wushuang looked at Bailey Chen and continued, Haha, no problem. Bailey Chen laughed and replied, As for the remaining 3 who aren't in the top 30, they will be handled by you 2, Feng Yuqian and Mu Yingying. You 2 can do it if you work together, Jian Wushuang continued. No problem, Feng Yuqian and Mu Yingying replied confidently. Okay then, it's settled. Let's do it. With a roar, Jian Wushuang immediately rushed forward fiercely, like a flowing light. The people from a small empire actually have the gall to initiate a fight with us. Unbelievable. Haha, then we shall kill them. Jian Wushuang is my prey. You guys deal with the rest, Guyan shouted. Soon after, the warriors from the 2 squads engaged in a fierce fight. Jian Wushuang led the charge, wasting no time before starting the fight with Guyan. Yang Zaishuan and the others moved toward their enemies as well. Shua, a sword light suddenly appeared, cutting through the air as it flew forward at a fast pace. Jian Wushuang used his full strength with this first move, the second movement of the selfless sword technique, solipsistic form. As soon as he rushed forward, his power radiated out and filled the area. It was a monstrous power that even caused the air to vibrate. By then, Gu Yan was holding the giant axe that had been on his back. He immediately waved the giant axe, causing an overlapping axe shadow to appear. "Separate the sky from the earth." Gu Yan roared, and then he violently slashed the giant axe towards Jian Wushuang's sword light. The slash was so powerful that it seemed like it could cut through mountains. Bang! The two forces violently collided together, releasing two terrifying bursts of power. Several blast waves immediately formed and swept over the area. Facing this surge of power, the upper portions of the surrounding trees were shattered. At this point, Jian Wushuang also felt a vast force that he couldn't resist, forcing him to retreat several steps. "I already used my full strength with the solipsistic form. Why can't I beat him?" Jian Wushuang muttered in surprise. "Thunderbolt." Yes, his giant axe contains Thunderbolt essence. He should have comprehended both Thunderbolt and Raging Fire essences simultaneously. The combined essences made his power extremely violent and terrifying, Jian Wushuang muttered. Thunderbolt essence was fierce and violent. Same was Raging Fire essence. With these two essences combined, how could Gu Yan's attack not be violent? He is even stronger than Shui Yun. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Having experienced the first round, Jian Wushuang already had an idea how strong Gu Yan was. Gu Yan combined two essences, one regular essence and one irregular essence, the same as Shui Yun. But the difference was that Shui Yun had only reached the exceptional gold core realm, while Gu Yan was at the half-step yin-yang realm. So Gu Yan was naturally more powerful than Shui Yun in overall strength. Luckily, Jian Wushuang had greatly improved his strength in the past 2 months, so he was not really scared. "I'm not his match if I fight with brute strength, so I'll entangle him using speed and flexibility." Having thought of this, Jian Wushuang instantly disappeared like a ghost and landed next to Gu Yan. Then he waved his triple kill swords and quietly slashed towards Gu Yan. Gu Yan flipped his hand and easily parried Jian Wushuang's slash. However, Jian Wushuang gripped his long sword and disappeared again, reappearing on the other side of Gu Yan. Jian Wushuang fiercely waved his sword, releasing a continuous string of wild attacks against Gu Yan. Clang, 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 clang. In a single moment, Jian Wushuang had already attacked 10 times in succession, without giving Gu Yan a chance to breathe. Every slash was extremely tricky, so Gu Yan had to shift his giant axe to ward off the sword shadows. "This fellow is flexible." Gu Yan darkened his face. Gu Yan specialized in strength and head-to-head battles. However, Jian Wushuang was fighting him with speed and flexibility. He couldn't do anything about it. In the short fight so far, he did not have an advantage. Instead, he was constantly defending. How could he beat or even kill Jian Wushuang? Gu Yan immediately realized he was unable to overcome Jian Wushuang alone. Thinking of this, he involuntarily looked around. Only one glance was enough to make him even more depressed. The situation of the other fights was also the same. Both Yang Zishuan and Bailey Chen were fighting with a genius from the Cosmos Empire who ranked in the top 30, and neither one was in a passive position. Su Ro's opponent was a lady who ranked 21st. However, Su Ro's movements were extremely tricky, and her body was soft like cotton. No matter how the lady attacked, she was easily warded off by Su Ro. Every time the lady tried to stop fighting Su Ro and attack the others, Su Ro immediately interfered. Although Su Ro's attack was not formidable, it was strong enough to prevent the lady from supporting her comrades. Feng Yuqian and Mu Yingying were in the same situation. They were working together, fighting against 3 warriors from the Cosmos Empire. It was an evenly matched fight as well. Looking at the whole situation, it seemed the geniuses in both empires were well matched. Seeing this, Gu Yan lightly sighed, and then he waved his hand, "Retreat!" Then the other geniuses in the Cosmos Empire retreated without hesitation. Without wasting time, they quickly left together with Gu Yan. Jian Wushuang and his comrades were still standing on the battlefield. Seeing the geniuses from the Cosmos Empire retreat, they all felt relieved. Soon after, they all threw a smile on their faces. They retreated. We defeated a squad from the Cosmos Empire. Haha, even a squad from the Cosmos Empire couldn't defeat us. Bailey Chun and Feng Yuqian were excited. Don't be careless. Jian Wushuang shook his head and said, "It was just one of the squads from the Cosmos Empire. It should have been the weaker one, so the other one should be stronger." Ling Shuiyu, who was second place in the rankings, is a member of the Cosmos Empire. However, we did not see him just now, so he should be in the other squad. Hearing what Jian Wushuang said, the 5 next to him agreed and nodded. They indeed defeated a squad from the Cosmos Empire, but it was not a big deal. Jian Wushuang suddenly looked at Yang Zixuan in surprise. Su Rou, Bailey Chen, Mu Yingying, and Feng Yuqian looked towards Yang Zixuan as well. Looking at the state of Yang Zixuan, everybody had a strange look on their face. Chapter 198, first on the bounty list, Yang Tian. Chapter 198, first on the bounty list, Yang Tian. Yang Zixuan half closed his eyes as an astonishing aura began radiating from his body. The aura was gathering, and in no time it reached a level that was far beyond the scope of the Gold Core realm. But soon after, the aura was suppressed. The aura quickly calmed down, but Yang Zixuan's aura was obviously much stronger than before. Half-step yin yang. He achieved another breakthrough. Second bro, congratulations. Jian Wushuang and his comrades all looked at Yang Zixuan with happy smiles. They knew that Yang Zixuan had achieved the half-step yin-yang realm. Counting Bailey Chen and Feng Yuqian, their group now had 3 geniuses in the half-step yin-yang realm. What's more, Yang Zixuan possessed a fierce battle strength. Before he reached the half-step yin-yang realm, his battle strength was already powerful enough to reach the top 30 in the rankings. Now his battle strength should have increased a lot. Second bro, your strength should be as good as mine now, Jian Wushuang said, then touched his nose and stared at Yang Zixuan with a weird look. My strength is still weaker than yours, but I should be powerful enough to put up a fight, Yang Zixuan said while throwing a slight smile on his cold face. Second bro, your breakthrough enhances our overall battle strength, and that's what matters, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Bailey Chun and several other comrades all nodded excitedly. What Jian Wushuang said was correct. The point battle in Sky Valley was a contest of overall strength. Now that Yang Zixuan had a sharp increase in strength, there was no doubt that it greatly enhanced the overall battle strength of their group. If they fought with the group from the Cosmos Empire now, it would be much easier for them. Jian Wushuang and his comrades were still immersing themselves in the joy and celebration for Yang Zixuan's breakthrough. However, the 7 warriors from the Cosmos Empire group, who just had a fight with Jian Wushuang's group, were now slowly moving ahead toward a nearby hill. How shameful! We are the geniuses from the Cosmos Empire. How could a group formed by such geniuses be defeated by a group from a small empire? Guyan's face was turned livid with rage. The faces of his comrades darkened as well. Among them, there was a green-robed man. He was one of those in the top 30 places of the rankings and had just fought with Yang Zixuan a while ago. That guy just now, the green-robed man, was muttering while walking, and his eyebrows were bent. What happened, Chu Dong? Guyan looked at him and asked. Nothing. I just feel like the guy I fought with looks familiar, as if I have seen him before, the green-robed man replied. Oh. Guyan was stunned. Once a warrior formed a gold core, he would possess an extraordinary memory. Normally, as long as they met someone once or they had an impression of someone, it would be hard to elude them. Since Chu Dong felt Yang Zhaixuan looked familiar, they should have met each other somewhere before. You are from the Cosmos Empire, but that guy was from Tianzong Dynasty. The two dynasties are so far away from each other, and the disparity between the two dynasties in strength is so big. How could that happen? Gu Yan said questioningly. Chu Dong patted himself on the head and began rummaging through his memories. Suddenly he widened his eyes and said, I got it. It's him. This is beyond my expectations. Chu Dong shouted horrifyingly. Who is he? Guyan immediately asked. Chu Dong took a deep breath and then said seriously, he is Yang Tian. He ranks first on the bounty list in our Cosmos Empire. What? What Chu Dong said shocked Guyan and several of the other geniuses standing beside him. Cosmos Empire contained vast territory with a big population and numerous warriors. Needless to say, such a big dynasty would have plenty of problems. So there was a bounty list in the Cosmos Empire. The bounty list was personally created by the Imperial House of the Cosmos Empire. The people who appeared on the list were all important criminals who the Imperial House wanted. They attached a lot of importance to them. Yang Tian, the son of King Yang, ranked first on the bounty list. The Imperial House of Cosmos Empire offered rewards for the capture of Yang Tian, and that already showed. Anyone who was able to kill Yang Tian and bring back his body, along with his interspatial right, to Imperial House would be offered the position of first-class duke. He would also receive 3 fiefs, 500,000 silvers, and 10,000 elixirs. On top of that, he could choose a treasure from the Imperial Treasury. If he was able to capture Yang Tian alive and hand him over to the Imperial House, then he would be given the position of first-class commandery prince. He would also receive 8 fiefs, 5 million silvers, and 100,000 elixirs. He could even choose 3 treasures from the Imperial Treasury. The status of first-class commandery prince was an unparalleled position in the Cosmos Empire. Their status was right next to members of the Imperial House. 8 fiefs were equal to a province in terms of territory. Silvers and elixirs were only a secondary concern. Choosing 3 treasures from the Imperial Treasury was also a fatal attraction to any warrior in the Cosmos Empire. After all, the Imperial Treasury was countless times more valuable than the secret pavilion in Tianzong Dynasty's Dragon Palace. Needless to say, the treasures in the treasure pavilion were extremely valuable. Picking any 3, how great would that be? When the reward offered was announced several years ago, all warriors in the Cosmos Empire were shocked. Many warriors were eager to find the Yang Tian mentioned in the rewards. However, Yang Tian had simply disappeared, and nobody knew where he went. But now, Yang Tian had reappeared. What's more, he reappeared in the easternmost hunt held by the 12 northwestern dynasties. Chu Dong, are you sure your eyes did not deceive you? Did you really just fight with Yang Tian? Guyan asked. He was a little bit excited. Finding Yang Tian meant that they were one step closer to obtaining the rewards. Who wouldn't be excited? Even for the geniuses in the Cosmos Empire, killing Yang Tian was much more important than displaying their strength in front of the old sections. First-class commandery prince. That was the same as being an overlord in the Cosmos Empire. Even if they were unable to capture Yang Tian alive, they could still kill him. That way, they could at least get the position of first-class duke and be a local despot. I met Yang Tian once a few years ago. so I'm sure I don't have the wrong person, Chu Dong said, and nodded solemnly. With Chu Dong's confirmation, the geniuses from the Cosmos Empire got excited. Yang Tian, who ranks the first on the bounty list. Kill him. We have to kill him, no matter what. He must die. The eyes of those geniuses were sparkling with excitement. Yang Tian must be killed, Gu Yan said coldly, but he is currently in the group from the Tianzong dynasty. It will not be easy for us to kill him. Chapter 199. Attacked again. Chapter 199. Attacked again. They had already fought with the team from the Tianzong dynasty once. The team was strong enough to battle them to a standstill. If we only depend on our team, it will be impossible to kill Yang Tian. Xiao, contact another team and ask them to join us, Guyan said, and looked at a black-robed woman. Although her was the weakest in their team, her status was very high. Okay, the black-robed woman nodded. A flying insect rushed out from her sleeve as she waved her hand and flew into the surrounding jungle. Guyan and the others stayed where they were. After about half a day passed, another team from the Cosmos Empire rushed there, guided by the flying insect. Guyan, what do you want us to do? Asked a brown-haired man. The team also had 7 people, and the brown-haired man was the leader, who was 6th on the rankings, Zhang Kong. Where is Ling Shuiyu? Guyan muffled his voice. That guy likes doing everything by himself, so we separated 3 days ago. Zhang Kong said. That's great. He won't be able to claim this lucky opportunity, Guyan said and smiled coldly. An opportunity? Zhang Kong asked while looking at him in surprise. The truth is, Gu Yan began to narrate. After a few moments of time had passed. What? Yang Tian? Zhang Kong was surprised after hearing what Gu Yan said. Yeah, it's Yang Tian. It's a great opportunity, Gu Yan said with a smile. The team from the Tianzong dynasty is very powerful. We can't beat them by ourselves, so we wanted to work together and kill Yang Tian. Okay, Zhang Kong nodded without hesitance, and his eyes were filled with frenzied light. Xiao, can you track the location of that team from the Tianzong dynasty? Gu Yan asked. Yes, I left a tracking scent on them when we were battling, said the black-robed woman as she nodded and raised her eyebrows. Then, the previous flying insect flew out again. Follow it and kill them. Gu Yan smiled coldly. Subsequently, the 14 warriors from the 2 teams all rushed to where Jian Wushuang and his team members were staying. Shortly after, they caught up with Jian Wushuang and his 5 teammates. Jian Wushuang and the others were trudging through the dense jungle. Suddenly, a violent wind-breaking noise sounded out. They turned to look and found a swarm of warriors rushing towards them. Shit! Jian Wushuang's face changed. The Cosmos Empire. So many people. It's 2 teams working together. The expressions on the faces of Bailey Chun, Yang Zhaixuan, and the others immediately changed. After all, the Cosmos Empire was a large empire. If there was only one team, they could fight back. However, if the 2 teams worked together, there was no chance of them putting up a fight. Up in the air, the monarchs from those dynasties and the experts from the old sects all sighed while watching this take place. The team from Tianzong dynasty is finished. It's extraordinary for a team from a small empire to persist this long, but they've reached their limit. Ha! The 2 teams from the Cosmos Empire actually had to work together to fight with 6 people from the Tianzong dynasty. She frowned keenly this time. In the dense forest. Hurry and escape. As the leader, Jian Wushuang immediately ordered them to retreat. Because of the huge difference in strength, their only chance was to escape. Ha! Do you think you can escape? Gu Yan roared with a lower voice. Gu Yan, which of them is Yang Tian? Zhang Kong asked with a low voice. He is, Gu Yan said, while his eyes focused on Yang Zixuan, who was quickly escaping. It's him. Zhang Kong's eyes flashed a cold light. Kill him. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. A cascade of figures simultaneously rushed forward at a high speed. 11 out of the 14 warriors from the Cosmos Empire teams were rushing toward Yang Zixuan. What? Jian Wushuang was surprised. So many people want to kill second brother. Without any hesitance, Jian Wushuang turned around and appeared beside Yang Zixuan. Get out of my way, Jian Wushuang roared, as the triple kill sword embedded with 3 combined sword essences radiated a towering aura. A streak of sword shadow chopped out, as if separating the sky from the earth. The third move of the selfless sword technique, Sky Isolating Form. This move he just comprehended was Jian Wushuang's strongest killing move. Only by yourself. Gu Yan sneered and glanced at Jian Wushuang, striking out like a thunderbolt with his giant axe. Bang! They collided, and then Jian Wushuang and Gu Yan were both pushed back at the same time. Gu Yan was shocked. Last time, he could overpower Jian Wushuang in pure strength. But now, their strengths were almost equal. Although Gu Yan was blocked by Jian Wushuang, the other 10 warriors appeared in front of Yang Zixuan at this time. A profusion of attacks began. Second bro, watch out! Jian Wushuang shouted suddenly. At that moment, Yang Zixuan had a very serious expression, seeing a barrage of attacks rushing towards him. His eyes also flashed with a frenzied light. Boom! A horrifying aura suddenly began radiating from Yang Zixuan. The power of this aura was greater than anyone present. At the same time, a gust of fierce golden spiritual power flooded the area. The golden spiritual power covered Yang Zixuan's whole body, making him look like a god from heaven at the moment. Subsequently, Yang Zixuan roared and brandished his saber. He swung his saber 3 continuous times, chopping through the air and causing the whole area to be filled with rippling waves. Rumble! Another fierce roar sounded, and the heaven and the earth seemed to be overshadowed. Whoosh! 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 Many figures were forced to rush away, appearing in the treetops. After regaining their stances, they all looked toward the figure covered in the golden spiritual power. That figure was Yang Zixuan, Jian Wushuang, Su Ro, and the others were all looking at Yang Zixuan with surprise plastered all over their faces. Because at this moment, the aura radiating from Yang Zixuan was too strong, much stronger than Jian Wushuang. And the layer of golden spiritual power that covered his body was also formidable. High heaven technique. Gu Yan's pupils shrank as he said, Yang Tian, it's you. Yang Zixuan snorted and looked over at Jian Wushuang and the others behind him. They are after me. Third bro, you should take them run. Leave you here and run away? What are you saying? Jian Wushuang did not move, and his gazes grew cold. No one can leave. Gu Yan roared, and the warriors from the Cosmos Empire rushed forward again. Kill them! Jian Wushuang roared, and was the first to rush forward. He fiercely fought with Gu Yan, who was the strongest among them. Bailey Chun, Su Ro, and the others also moved. War broke out again. Chapter 200, Escape. Chapter 200, Escape. Humph! Covered by a layer of golden spiritual power and holding a saber like Satan, Yang Zixuan fought with 6 talents from Cosmos Empire by himself at the same time. Zhang Kong, who was 6th in the rankings, was among the 6 geniuses. However, while incessantly brandishing the saber, Yang Zixuan's moves became more domineering. One person and one saber fighting against 6 geniuses at the same time. What an amazing little guy. Easily fighting with 6 people. That layer of the golden spiritual power seems to be heavenly chi. Yes, it's heavenly chi from the high heaven technique, which is the highest level technique of the Cosmos Empire. Apparently, he concealed his strength because he didn't want to display his cultivation method. It seems that he has an outstanding background. Many of the monarchs and experts up in the air were secretly sighing, and they could not help glancing at the monarch from the Cosmos Empire. The monarch was a weathered elder wearing an emperor robe. At this time, the weathered elder looked down. When he saw the golden spiritual power covering Yang Zishuan, his face immediately became gloomy. It's him, Yang Tian, the traitor. The weathered elder clenched his hands as his eyes filled with killing intent. The battlefield beneath them was a mess. The sound of violent collisions could be heard as an incredible aura filled the air. Although Yang Zishuan's strength increased enough to fight head-on with 6 of the warriors from the Cosmos Empire, they were fighting against 2 teams with a combined force of 14 people. Even though Yang Zishuan was holding back 6 people, there was still 8 more that were not being restrained. One of those was Guyan, who could overpower Su Rou, Bailey Chen, and the others. Damn it! Jian Wushuang noticed that Bailey Chen, Feng Yuqian, and Mu Yingying were retreating as they fought with the warriors from the Cosmos Empire. His expression became gloomy. It's time to execute the soul-devouring secret skill. Jian Wushuang squinted. The soul-devouring secret skill was his final trump card. He would not use it unless he was faced with an urgent situation. After all, the soul-devouring secret skill placed a heavy burden on Jian Wushuang. Upon executing it, he would be weakened for several days. In a battlefield like Sky Valley, losing strength meant you would be eliminated or killed. But in this situation, Jian Wushuang decided to use the soul-devouring secret skill. But at this moment, a terrifying aura began radiating from among the crowd. What? Everyone immediately looked at the source of that terrifying aura. It's her. That woman. The geniuses from the Cosmos Empire looked at her in astonishment. It was Su Rou. At this moment, Su Rou's sleeves and hair were fluttering as the terrifying aura continued to rise sharply and violently. In only a moment, it had reached an unbelievable level. Subsequently, Su Rou's eyes grew cold, and she waved her hand. Vast aquamarine spiritual power surged out and formed a huge torrent. The power of the torrent was amazing. It swept out and covered the entire space in only a moment. The endless aquamarine power formed many sharp spikes and darted towards the geniuses from the Cosmos Empire. What is this? The geniuses from the Cosmos Empire were very surprised. With their strength, it was not hard to defend against those spikes. However, there were so many spikes, and they filled the area, thrusting toward them from everywhere in quick succession. Everyone from the Cosmos Empire had to try their best to parry those spikes, which gave Jian Wushuang and the others a slight reprieve. Escape quickly. Su Rou roared with a low and anxious voice. Fourth sister. Jian Wushuang looked at Su Rou and left without hesitance. Go. Immediately, Jian Wushuang, Yang Zishuan, Bailey Chen, Feng Yuqian, and Mu Yingying left the battlefield and rushed into the dense forest. Su Rou also managed to leave, following Jian Wushuang and the others. The power of the aquamarine torrent didn't slow in the least until Su Rou left, at which point those spikes also halted. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Everyone from the Cosmos Empire appeared on the treetops and watched the figures of Jian Wushuang and the rest disappear. Their faces stiffened. They're escaping. Guyen muffled his voice. It was beyond our expectations. Even though they are from a small empire, they are very strong. We knew it would be hard to fight with Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan, but we didn't expect them to have such a terrifying woman, said Zhang Kong as he squinted. What Su Ro did had deeply shocked them. Although Su Ro was only one person, she restrained all 14 of them. They only escaped temporarily. Guyen groaned and said, Xiao Xiao, how are things going over there? The black-robed woman frowned and said with a low voice, that woman's attack was terrifying. I had no choice but to focus on defending myself, and the blood armor bug was killed by a spike. I need 2 hours to hatch another one. Only 2 hours? They can't run far. We can just wait here for 2 hours. Guyen said, Okay. Zhang Kong also nodded. Now that they knew Yang Zishuan was actually Yang Tian, these geniuses from the Cosmos Empire were specifically targeting the team from Tianzong Dynasty. They would not give up until they killed Yang Zishuan. But at that moment, is everyone here? A light laughter suddenly sounded, and then a bloody-robed figure appeared on the treetop next to those talents from the Cosmos Empire. It was a young man with a serious look, carrying a blood sword on his back and wearing an evil smile. He looked at those talents from the Cosmos Empire with interest. Seeing him, those talents from the Cosmos Empire all changed their expressions. Ling Xueyu, blood sword. Ling Xueyu, acknowledged as the strongest genius in the Cosmos Empire, second place in the rankings. Ling Xueyu and Meng Wujian, who ranked first, were publicly known as the two monsters in this easternmost hunt. Even though he was also from the Cosmos Empire, Ling Xueyu was so strong that he could explore Sky Valley by himself. Although he was one person, he had vanquished a team from a middle-sized empire. Guyen and Zhang Kong's expressions became unnatural when they saw Ling Xueyu. They knew that Yang Zishuan was an opportunity for them, but it would not belong to them if Ling Xueyu participated. Chapter 201, Be My Protector. Chapter 201, Be My Protector. Guyen, Zhang Kong, you two have been in discord for a long time, and this time, in the Sky Valley battle, you two also led 2 different teams and took separate actions. But now, you've gathered together. Something must have happened. Just tell me. Ling Xueyu walked towards them with a slight smile. Guyen and Zhang Kong looked at each other and smiled with resignation. Then they briefly told him the identity of Yang Zishuan. Yang Tian. You mean Yang Tian, who ranks first in the bounty list. Ling Xueyu was also astonished at first, but then he smiled. No wonder you chose to join together. But it seems that you didn't get much from the team of the Tianzong Dynasty. Both of Guyen and Zhang Kong countenances turned serious. It is quite a shame that the combination of the 2 teams from our Cosmos Empire could do nothing to a team from a small empire. Ling Xueyu sneered. But that's okay. It provides me with a chance to perform. Above the void, the monarchs from the 12 dynasties and the experts from the old sects were discussing the previous battle. The breath that woman burst out. Is she from that place? It seems she is. Only people from that place can use such a special skill. What's more, from the strength of her breath, she has a high position there. Why did she, someone from that place, take part in the easternmost hunting of our 12 northwestern dynasties? Who knows? Knowing Su Ro's background, the experts were all surprised. This time, Tianzong Dynasty's disciples are at a rather high level. One owns the high heaven technique and can drive heavenly chi, and another one comes from that place. Both of them can be considered true, peerless geniuses. Compared to them, their leader, Jian Wushuang, performed quite ordinarily in the Sky Valley battle. Yes, the battle had lasted for so long, but Jian Wushuang showed no improvement in his strength. I used to be optimistic about him, as he's still very young, but now, compared with those two geniuses, he's much weaker. Mr. Ling Tian, you are so visionary. Yes, Mr. Ling Tian looked down on Jian Wushuang. Since the beginning, some experts from the old sects were flattering Mo Ling Tian. Glancing down at Jian Wushuang, Mo Ling Tian sat on the chair and sneered coldly. Other geniuses mostly gained a few improvements as the battle went on. In his team, all the members except him gained improvements in both essence realm and cultivation after the continuing slaughter. However, his strength remained the same. He made no progress after the continuing slaughter. Is it really that he's a genius? Ridiculous. In our wilderness sword sect, even a disciple whose job is to sweep the floor is much more talented than him. Mo Ling Tian kept being dismissive of Jian Wushuang all along. During the whole battle, the only one he appreciated was Ling Shuiyu. He's not bad. Mo Ling Tian looked down at Ling Shuiyu. He was able to comprehend 3 sword essences at the same time. And what's more, one of them was the sword essence of brightness, which is very rare. It's quite good for him to combine the 3 sword essences at this age. In our sect, he can be considered barely qualified to be a core disciple. At first, Mo Ling Tian didn't intend to choose any disciples for the Wilderness Sword sect, but recently, after watching Ling Shuiyu's performance in the Sky Valley, he slightly changed his mind. In Sky Valley, after fighting with the experts of the Cosmos Empire, all members of Jian Wushuang's team sat down on the ground to restore their spiritual power. Little sister, Jian Wushuang looked at Su Ro and said, "Thanks a lot. If it weren't you, we would have had no hope in surviving under the siege of the 2 teams from the Cosmos Empire." Yang Zhaixuan, Bailey Chun, and the other members also looked at Su Ro with gratitude. Just now, Su Ro did save them. It's not a big deal. Su Ro looked pale. It was apparent that it also consumed a lot of her energy just now. "Third brother, if I were not there, you would also still have led us out of that mess." Su Ro looked at Jian Wushuang without any suspicion. Jian Wushuang smiled, and then he looked around. "Everybody," Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. "These days, it is our cooperation that has led us here. As a leader, actually, I didn't lead you that much. Though I am ashamed, I have a presumptuous request." Hearing this, the 5 members around Jian Wushuang were all surprised as they looked at him. "I request all of you to be my protectors," Jian Wushuang said directly. "Protector?" Yang Zhaixuan and other members were all amazed. "Third brother, are you going to make a breakthrough?" Su Ro looked at Jian Wushuang surprisingly. "I fought with Guyan just now and gained a few insights. It seems that I'm going to make a breakthrough." Jian Wushuang smiled with gratification. Finally, he was going to make a breakthrough. It was known that he had waited for this day for a long time. Since combining 3 sword essences in the selection battle, he had met a huge bottleneck in improving his strength. Although he tried many times to break through the bottleneck, he failed. From the beginning of Easternmost hunting to now, with the continuing battles and slaughter, the geniuses from other dynasties, and even the geniuses in his team all made a breakthrough in their strength. People like Yang Zhaixuan and Feng Yutian had made even greater improvements in their strength. How about Jian Wushuang? From the beginning to now, he had made no progress. It was not because Jian Wushuang was not talented enough, but rather because the bottleneck interfering with him was too huge. The bottleneck stopped him from making any progress. Once he broke through the bottleneck, his strength would reach a new and prominent level. Now, the breakthrough he longed was coming. "That's so great. Ha! Jian Wushuang, are you going to make a breakthrough?" Finally, you are going to make a breakthrough. Yang Zixuan, Su Rou, Bailey Chen, Feng Yuqian, and Mu Yingying were all surprised. They knew Jian Wushuang's strength well, and they all knew how amazingly talented he was. Before the breakthrough, Jian Wushuang's battle strength was far beyond theirs, and he also ranked top among the geniuses of the 12 dynasties. Once he made the breakthrough, his strength would reach new and prominent heights. Everybody, I promise, Jian Wushuang said confidently, while looking at his team members. I request you to be my protectors, and after the breakthrough, I will lead you to sweep over the 12 northwestern dynasties and create a brand new legend. Chapter 202, Fight to the Death. Chapter 202, Fight to the Death. What Jian Wushuang said completely exhilarated his present comrades. Sweeping over the 12 northwestern dynasties and creating a new legend. But what was a legend? A small dynasty making its way upstream and destroying the middle-sized empires, or even the two large empires. This was supposed to be a legend. Now Jian Wushuang said that he wanted to lead them to create a new legend. How confident of him to say that. I believe you. Su Rou solemnly looked at Jian Wushuang, without any doubts in her eyes. Yang Zixuan looked at Jian Wushuang as a smile slowly grew on his cold face. Bailey Chen, Feng Yuqian, and Mu Yingying smiled, as well after they glanced at each other. Their smiles were full of expectations. After a while, Jian Wushuang sat down on the field with his legs crossed. He closed his eyes and then engaged himself in the breakthrough. Yang Zixuan, Su Rou, and the other 3 comrades stationed themselves around him quietly. They had to ensure that nobody disturbed Jian Wushuang until he completed the breakthrough. By then, geniuses of the Cosmos Empire were quietly waiting in the jungle, which was not far from Jian Wushuang and his comrades. Among them, there was a black-robed woman trying her utmost to hatch an insect. Soon after, the hatching was complete, and a winged insect emerged in people's visions. Done, the black-robed woman held her head up and said, "Is it finally done?" Ling Shuiyu smiled coldly and said, "Then lead the way." The black-robed woman nodded, and then everybody followed behind the insect and walked directly toward where Jian Wushuang and his comrades were. This was seen by the monarchs of the 12 dynasties and the experts of the old sects, who were levitating above the void. Blood Armor Bug, it seems that the Cosmos Empire have targeted the young men of the Tianzong dynasty. It's unbelievable that they raised a blood armor bug. To raise a bug like that, they need to feed it their own blood since its birth. The geniuses in the Cosmos Empire seem a motley crew. With the blood armor bug leading the way, the group from the Cosmos Empire can find the group from the Tianzong dynasty soon. This fight may leave Tianzong dynasty with no chance to even struggle. Exactly. After all, Ling Shuiyue is in the group. Even if a genius of the Tianzong dynasty was from the same place, he would only be able to barely survive when confronting Ling Shuiyu, even when trying their utmost. Ling Shuiyu is an exceptional genius who is ranked 2nd place on the standings. He is a monster. Meng Wutian, who is ranked 1st on the standings, is also a monster. Their strengths are far more powerful than those of other geniuses. Those top geniuses were casually talking. All of them believed that the Tianzong dynasty had no chance to win this time. Even Di Shi was now worried as he frowned. He was unwilling to retreat, but he knew that their group might have no way to resist the enemies, because the group from the Cosmos Empire gathered their top geniuses, and even Ling Shuiyu was with them as well. The outcome, then, would be Jian Wushuang's group being killed. Look at the young man called Jian Wushuang. He is sitting on the field while the geniuses from the Cosmos Empire are approaching. It seems he is comprehending something. An expert from an old sect suddenly said. Oh. The other experts looked toward Jian Wushuang as well. Haha, he is. He has not achieved comprehension until now. It's too late. The geniuses from the Cosmos Empire will confront them in a while. At this point, even if he has a breakthrough in his strength, the result won't change. The experts from the old sects were talking and laughing. In the first day of the grabbing battle, Jian Wushuang attracted the eyes of the experts from the old sects. This was mostly because he was young, as well as the fact that he had incredible strength. However, as a few days passed, Jian Wushuang made no progress, which made them completely lose interest in him. Even though it seemed that Jian Wushuang had been comprehending something, how much he could improve himself now. The experts from the Cosmos Empire would arrive soon, and by then they would outclass Jian Wushuang and his companions. Humph, a good-for-nothing from a small empire. Mo Lingtian totally ignored Jian Wushuang. The only person he was interested in was Ling Shuiyu, in the blank field center of a lush jungle in Sky Valley. Yang Zishuan, Su Ro, and the other comrades were maintaining sharp vigilance, but they were disrupted by successive whoosh sounds. With the sounds of a few sharp winds, several figures with violent breath instantly appeared in front of them. Everybody from the Tianzong dynasty. Here we meet again, Gu Yan said with a smile. Seeing that the geniuses from the Cosmos Empire appeared in front of them again, Yang Zishuan's and his comrades' faces instantly darkened. By then, they already noticed the young man who was standing ahead and carrying a blood sword on his back. He looked icy, and his glance was fixed on Jian Wushuang and his comrades. Ling Shuiyu. It's him. The monster ranked second place on the rankings. Yang Zishuan's and the other four comrades' faces darkened further. It should be known that the alliance between the two groups of Gu Yan and Zhang Kong had left them with no chance to stand against them. Worse still, the two groups arrived simultaneously, together with the well-known monster Ling Shuiyu. How was it possible for them to resist? What we should do? Should we just escape? Mu Yingying couldn't help but ask. No, we shouldn't. Su Ro directly shook her head and said, It's the crucial moment for Wushuang to complete his breakthrough. We can't let anybody disturb him. Otherwise, he won't be able to break through. What's worse is that he will turn berserk. We can't escape. Then we have to fight to the death. Bailey Chen said coldly. There's no other choice except to fight, Yang Zishuan said flatly. Not soon after he had spoken, golden spiritual power surged from his body. A horrible breath suddenly burst out. High heaven technique. Seeing the golden spiritual power surging around Yang Zishuan's body, Ling Shuiyu looked excited. He instantly bounded up and directly levitated towards Yang Zishuan. I will take care of Yang Tian. You guys handle the rest. Hearing what Ling Shuiyu said, Gu Yan and Zhang Kong frowned. However, they did not dare to violate Ling Shuiyu's instruction. So each led a group and then directly glided towards Su Ro and her comrades. Go to hell. Gu Yan fiercely hacked his giant axe, which seemed to be able to split through the sky and earth. Zhang Kong held a long spear in his hand. The long spear was dark and violently pierced through the void, like an awl. By then, the remaining geniuses from the Cosmos Empire each aimed at an enemy as well. Everybody was trying their utmost. Stop them from moving close to Wushuang, Su Ro snarled. A vast breath could be seen instantly raising up from her body, followed by the aquamarine torrent surging out. The torrent was even stronger than before. The aquamarine torrent filled the entire sky and earth, covering all geniuses from the Cosmos Empire. Subsequently, several aquamarine long spears appeared in the aquamarine torrent. Here we are again. This lady is really hard to deal with. Be careful. The power from these spears is more powerful than the sharp barbs from before.